Friends, fans, and fine folk, grab your drinks and snacks and come on down to the campfire for this short rest with me and my friends, Dice Goblin! Beer, 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 beer. Hello, everyone. How are you? And it seems the audio is working, so that's always a plus. How you going? It's good to have you here.
It's all good. It's late night here and it's early morning for you. So
Yeah, thank you for staying up late for this chat. I appreciate it. This is the rare time of year when I actually really appreciate the time zone being exactly 12 hours different, because it makes time conversion to the UK super easy. How's your day been?
We had a good day on the Kickstarter today, so we're feeling good. How's your day been, Michael?
Yeah, good. We got a stretch goal for the maps. That's awesome. On to the next one.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah. Let's just for context for people listening who don't know who you are. Let's do a brief introduction. Who are you? Who is Dice Goblin, and who are you as individuals?
So Dice Goblin is kind of a small company. We obviously specialize in dice, and it consists of Eddie and Michael, just the two of us. We've been doing it now for about 4 years. October. Yep. 4 years. So we've been going a while. We had ups and downs, but we're still going.
Yeah. About 4 years now, huh?
4 years of this, yeah. So we started off as a dice retailer. We were buying and selling like lots of other people are for all the dice suppliers that we could find. But that was always a sort of bridging gap for what we wanted to do, which was I've got left of me here, which was our Goblin dice range. So we're now very much focused on our own dice, which I'm sure your audience have seen you showing up on Instagram and things.
Yeah.
Now we've leaned very heavily into the Goblin theme and try and make cartoony, fun dice along that vibe.
So tell me where the name came from. Obviously, most people, like, it's a colloquialism to people who hoard dice is Dice Goblin, but was there other names in the mix at the time? Did you toss about the idea?
It started off is that we knew we wanted to make dice, and then I remember sitting down on Discord with Eddie and just discussing names, and we were literally throwing stuff at the wall like
That's a lot of bad names.
I said Dice Goblin, and I wasn't actually aware of the meaning at the time, but he was just like, yes.
Oh, really?
It was early enough in the meme that I said, like, if we can make a bigger thing of this, we could become the meme. You know, where did it start? I don't think we've quite achieved that.
No, but, I mean, we didn't want to be. I mean, shiny math rocks and stuff. Obviously we love that, but we didn't just go super heavy into that in our marketing and stuff. But
then I think it all really. I mean, we said that's a great name, and then we looked if the URL was available, and it was. And I think that was a 2 minutes. I think that was a split-second decision. Then it was like, buy it,
buy it now.
Yeah, and that was it. Yeah, and it was. I mean, you asked us if we had any other names in the mix. I can't think of a single one because they were all bad. Essentially,
we did try to get dicegoblin.com as well as the .co.uk.
Yeah.
But somebody's been sitting on that for like 12
years. If you own dicegoblin.com, please email us because we've been trying to email you for 4 years now.
And they do nothing. They just do nothing with it. Like there's
there's like an auto renew, and we can you can put in bids, and you send them it's a whole online system where you obviously can't find their address.
Yeah, what a mess. Some people just
they've been
sit on it. Are they like? I wonder if they're expecting it's going to be like way more expensive later, and they're just like sitting on it, or it's just like I can't be bothered, or it goes to an email that they don't even check anymore.
That's probably. I think that's most likely the case, but yeah, they could be watching the stream.
They might be. Yeah, they might be intently following every single thing you do, just waiting and being like, "I'll get them. I'll get them to pay me double the price that they're offering." So you became Dice Goblin right from the off. So tell me more about like how you actually got into it though. Like, why did you decide you needed to register a company kind of thing? Who was the first of you to say let's actually do this?
So I mean, we've been friends for 10, 15 years, lost count, and we've always had drunken evenings talking about stupid business ideas. And Michael's wife is actually Chinese, and at the time he was saying like we could buy and sell anything from China. I just need to think of an idea. We sort of, I think, as soon as we said dice,
he said dice, and I was just like, yes.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of. We started off doing what most dice companies do. They just buy cheap dice from China and resell it in the UK. And at one point in our first year, we were doing quite well. We had over 200 sets of dice on our website, but there's so many people doing that, and so many people charging ridiculous prices for it. So many people charging cheap prices, and then obviously Temu's about now, and they're just. I mean, it's all the same thing. We wanted to make something different. We wanted to get something on shop shelves. We want to become a recognizable brand where people be like, "Oh, Dice Goblin, I know them," and we wanted to make something collectible. So like every set, so our stuff is limited edition at the moment. We're not really planning to do any reprints of the sets. So some of our nicer sets from like Session Zero, like the Mystic, love the set, but we don't want to print more of them.
Right.
So currently from Session 1, we've got one set of the Poet dice, which I know you've got some.
Session
Oh,
Zero.
I love the poet. I've got some poet right here.
Right, Session Zero, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry, Session
Poet,
Zero. Yeah,
poet Session Zero, yeah.
But he was in the Session 1 story campaign adventure. That's probably what's confusing you.
Yeah.
He was Toots McGarble in that, yeah.
So,
it's quite fun
so,
thing. When you got to
so
write
is the
stuff,
plan that like you'll keep so eventually every Session Zero's been sold, every Session One's been sold, and you're on to Session 7, and like you're just like, well, if you want the Session 1, if you want the Session 0 Mystics, then Session 7 has a similar set, or we still have some of the blue set from Session 2 with the Ghost, or you can maybe go for those instead, like, or is it that someday maybe you'll go, oh wow, for a limited time only, we're bringing back a reprint of so dice.
we could do. I mean, that's always like a thing we have in our back pocket. I mean, because it's just the two of us, it's not like we have like a charter on the wall. It's like this is our gospel and we have to stick to it. So it's very dynamic. But our current thinking is that no reprints unless there's a particular reason to. We've talked about doing like the same characters. You know, we could do a new Mystic set, which is exactly the same character, but it doesn't fit this time with a yellow dice set or whatever.
He's leveled up. he's a level 20 Mystic at this point.
Yeah, we probably talk about that a bit later on, but we've got something in the pipeline for D6s, which will probably see us reprint some D6s, but we'll get more to that later.
We've only made 4 sets of D6s so far out of our 24 sets previous.
36. Well,
yeah.
Yeah, 36 with the news, eh? So let's, before we sort of jump into it too much, let's go way back to the beginning and start at the beginning. I almost forgot my whole premise of Short Rest. Because I call this Short Rest, I like for you guys to sort of give me a little dungeon mastery assistance here by setting the scene. Like, what is the Short Rest? Why are we needing a Short Rest? What mission are we on, and what's the setting? Are we? So I imagine we're goblins probably, because your whole thing. So we're goblins and we're on some sort of a mission. What are we doing that we needed a break from?
Well, we could plug this into our campaigns and our little adventure that we've been writing, couldn't we?
Oh yeah. Are we on our way to the party, or are we?
That's the Brains' spooky house.
Checked in the closet. Yeah. So we're at Professor Brains' spooky house. This is the haunted mansion that is the setting for the one shot that ties into the Kickstarter that you guys are doing, that I'm assisting with. And we're at this haunted mansion party, and there's been a murder. There's been a murder on the dance floor. And we're investigating that, and we've gotten ourselves locked in a closet. We've tried picking the lock. We've tried bashing the way out, and then we're like, you know what? I'm tired anyway. Somebody will come along and let us out in a bit. And so we just sit down on the floor of the pantry that we've got locked in, and we're just having some food. What are we eating and drinking? Have you got any real life foods and drinks? Sometimes people bring. We're drinking some Pepsi. I'm just on water myself.
Drunk by and bar dry, unfortunately.
I've got myself some dried fruit for snacks if I need it. I've got mango and strawberries and stuff. I like to nibble some dried fruit. You've got the click clack dice candy. I have seen. In fact, I think I've got some. Is it on me? I think it's through in the next room. I've seen edible dice. Have you ever considered going that route, doing like novelty stuff? Like,
I don't know if it's anyone from the UK watching, but a UK Games Expo that we go to every year, there's an edible dice stand.
Gummies.
People go up to our stand all the time. Have you seen the edible dice stand?
It's such a dangerous thing to do, because it to me it's like making edible gummy medicine. It's like, well, let's not teach us to be eating the stuff we shouldn't be
I
eating.
think we do have to put warnings on the back of the boxes and everything. Yeah,
These
so,
are not these are not edible, despite how delicious they look.
maybe inviting ourselves up to lawsuit if we sell
Yeah.
both at the same time.
All right, so we're trapped in the closet. We're all on a mission to try and work out what's going on at Professor Brains' house, and while we're trapped in here, let's have a chat. So where did you begin? All the way back to the very beginning. What's your origin into Dungeons and Dragons, nerdy stuff, TTRPGs, dice?
Even further. Okay, so I mean, for me, it was a long time ago. I should be pretty much a Bitcoin billionaire by now, but I lost it all. Let's not talk about that. But I used to spend. I was mining Litecoin, like mined over 2,000 of them. Anyway, I used to be up quite late. I used to be up quite late at night, and I just stumbled across Critical Role, and like I've always had an interest in Dungeons and Dragons. I tried to play. We tried to play a campaign with a different friend of ours, and he's never actually read the rules or anything. He just kind of was like, okay, you're in a kitchen, and then we started. I don't know. I remember stabbing. I remember rolling a 20 and stabbing a scorpion with his own tail to kill it, and that was pre-learning the rules. So I actually watched Critical Role, so some campaign one, and I was like, wow, that's really good. And I mean, I went to Eddie, being like the type of person I know he is. I was like, hey, I think you'd love to DM Dungeons. It's not me. Like I did try it once, but he put a stop to it as well and started.
God, you know you're a bad DM if your friends are actively telling you need to stop doing this.
Well, yeah, so I mean, Michael, I'd always wanted to play. I had a few friends that used to play and things like that and spoke about it highly. And then as soon as Michael came to me, he was like, would you like to DM for us, guys? I jumped on it immediately, like the type of person I am. And he's bestowed the forever DM curse on me from that moment onwards. That was 2000. I mean, that was 2017 or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Could be 2016.
Could be 16.
Could be 2016. That far back.
It's about the same time I was studying.
Yeah. And then we used to play in my parents' dining room. I ran starting adventure, Lost Mines of Fandelver. We started on, and that campaign was an absolute mess. Which I would be aghast to share lots of the stories from those murder hobos. It was seven of my drunken friends.
Oh, no, thank you.
Well, we kept having new people kind of join the campaign as we were playing, because everyone kind of wanted to start playing it. And like one of our friends, a Scottish guy, introduced drinking every time someone rolls a nat 1, and then.
But yeah, the early days of those drinking sessions. Really.
Yeah.
But so we ran. So I ran Lost Mines of Fandelver as best I could at the time, and I look back on the things I did then. Thought, God, what the hell was I thinking? There's a bunch of missed rulings and everything. Didn't know concentration existed as a thing. We had a paladin casting Bless and Bane and everything at the same time. And but we moved on from that to took those same characters and played. Was it the same characters? No, it wasn't. It was new characters. Storm King's Thunder we played second, and that was like the first campaign where I was like, right, I kind of know what I'm doing now. And that was an improvement. And from there on, I mean, we've actually a lot of our experience has been pre-written modules. So we have to if you look at top 10 D&D modules, the chances are I've run those top 10.
Okay.
How
often did you get a chance to play, or in those early days? How often were you playing?
Every week if we could, wasn't it? Really,
Yeah,
it was. This was so. To skip forward a few years, we did that for a good 2-3 years of playing every weekend, and then COVID happened, obviously. We did move from line eventually, but during that COVID period, pretty much all of our friends other than me and Michael had children over that COVID gap, and now it is much.
I mean, what else was there to do, right?
They're really busy.
One of them's got 4 now, so he's been busy. It's 2020, right?
Since he's been consistently churning them out one a year.
Oh, it could be 4.
It is 4.
That's 3. But this is how bad it is.
Adam's got 4.
Yeah. You look away for a minute, and then you look back, and your friends have got 4 kids. And you're like, what?
Yeah. And so we moved to online during COVID anyway, and we sort of carried that on. It become we always say it's every week if we can when we're playing. So it's like it ends up being like 5 sessions every 2 months, that sort of thing. And now and then you take a week off.
Everyone's been waiting for him to start a new campaign though, and I'm going to tell him that he's starting a new one with his WoW friends.
So okay, all right. Let's take the session Rob. So I have been promising a new campaign for a while now. It was actually going to be the Savage Worlds rule set, and it was going to be not was going to be a homebrew campaign of a Wild West setting.
Nice.
And I have a plot for it, and I have a lot of things worked out. I've just been playing a lot of World of Warcraft, though.
Right.
As Michael just alluded to, I've just this week agreed to run Waterdeep Dragon Heist for my World of Warcraft friends. So my other friends are... But yeah, I will get it done.
Definitely need to.
I like that I'm thinking about that campaign. It's not like it's completely on ice. It's just... I think this actually would be the first time I've done a fully homebrew, like fully brew setting.
Right.
Was obviously a lot more daunting. So maybe that's what's making me take my time. But
yeah, it's there's definitely, if you've never done it before, it can be intimidating for sure. But didn't you find, like, with the running the modules, that you also were basically having to homebrew a lot anyway? Were you following it like? Because modules are meant to be like, hey, look, this is a game where the people can theoretically do anything, and we're trying to do some linear storytelling with a module. So, like, you're gonna have to find ways to massage them into following the plot.
Yeah, I think that maybe Michael could speak for it, but I think I do that quite naturally. So one thing I always do these days is personal session 0. So I like to do a session 0 with everybody. And each player, I jump on like a 30-minute to an hour long call to work out their backstory. Then I take that stuff and then write the other half of the campaign. So the main plot line's there, but I always try and say that NPC is going to become important in Act 3. So let's get this character involved with that NPC in Act 1. And
I'd say he's grown a lot as a DM, and like our characters feel like they're more like they have they live in this world more than.
That's a great message from the D&D chat saying, "Why are you playing D&D without us?"
You've outed yourself.
Yeah.
So when did you? What were you doing before that sort of paved the way to making you want to try it in the first place? Like, what was? Were you like nerds growing up as well? Were you into comic books or stories, fantasy stuff? Did you listen to a lot of the Rings?
It's massive video game nerds more than It's RPGs, Lord of the Rings. Like I never read Lord of the Rings. I read some Harry Potter, so that's quite nerdy.
I think the catalyst at the time, I just moved back from university, and I was sort of keen to get people around the table and get see my friends and things. But we just started playing board games. We were playing a lot of Risk, and then we got into Scythe, Game of Thrones, Risk, and then we kept having these board game nights, and that just evolved naturally into TTRPG night.
It's like a gateway drug, isn't it? But board games, getting into board games, and then getting into TTRPGs, like pen and paper games, and then getting from there into LARPing, and then probably something after that.
UK game. Yeah, there's the Viking people that are always out front of the exhibition hall. There's people do they camp all weekend in full Viking LARP, and it does look like a good time.
Before you know it, you're actually living in a medieval village, living like a blacksmith. So you got into D&D back in 2016, 17, whenever that was, and then where did the idea for what was you said that you just wanted a business together and importing anything, and it just turned out to be dice. What was the reason you wanted that in the first place?
So let's say. Well, we do just sit on Discord during the day as business partners now, but I mean, back in those days, we used to sit on Discord and shoot the shit all night, sort of thing, and talk things through. But we'd always come up with these business ideas. And this is the first time we came up with one where it actually seemed viable and it seems achievable with a small investment. I'll tell you one thing we did was we think was actually really important. We used to talk about a lot of business ideas, but usually that's with like all your mates around the table. This is never going to happen because you're never going to be able to employ 6 people in a small business. But what we did do from our friends for a good month was keep it completely secret. Me and Michael were sat in like another Discord call without telling anybody what we were up to. Not until the website was ready to go that we were like, we've been working on this. And I think that was actually quite important to our process at the time because our friends love to get involved in everything. But
Did they
that
try
was
once
sort of
the
the scenario.
once you did announce it, once the website was ready to go? Were they like, oh, do you need any help with this or that?
But also, I think, yeah, I don't think there was too much of that going on. I think it was just nice to sort of have our own focus on it. And also, if it sounds silly, but the risk of like embarrassing yourself because you tell everyone you're going to do something and then you don't do it, sort of thing. It was nice just to be like, let's make sure we can actually do this before we go running our mouths saying we're starting a business.
There's an interesting psychology that comes from that. That like there's pros and cons to telling somebody what your goals are, because on the one hand they can quite often like keep you motivated to do it because of the risk of the embarrassment of telling somebody you're going to do something and then not doing it, and then having to kind of go next time you see them, they're like, oh, how's that thing going? You go, oh yeah, no, I haven't actually worked on it. But on the other hand, there was I think there were some studies done that showed that if you verbalize your goals, it gives you some of that dopamine that you get from achieving them, and so there's less dopamine as a reward for actually achieving them, and so it's less motivating to actually do it. And I found that really interesting. Like verbalizing what your goals are can make it less incentive to actually finish them. So it's kind of double-edged sword. There's some positives, some drawbacks. So you guys have known each other a long time. Like you've been childhood friends, or did you meet in high school or something?
He was my younger brother's best friend, really.
Right.
He's a year below us.
We're 2 years younger than you.
Yeah, I'm 34 now. So
I'm 32.
So, but yeah, we know each other pretty much.
So yeah, we used to. As young lads, we had had a converted garage that we had like 3 TVs in and all the computers and PlayStations, and all me and my mates hang out in there. Yeah. That's where we take video games and things like that. So like we've been very close for a long time. Really, I went off to university for a few years and then came back. But no, yeah, I think I've known Michael for longer than I've not known you now.
Is your younger brother still in the scene? Is he just like you became closer friends with his older brother?
No, my younger brother's moved to Denmark, so he doesn't get to see him as often.
Right. Well, that's things that I used to come around and see Phil, Michael's younger brother, and then Michael's friends would be round as well, and we, became a big social circle of nerds sort of thing. So.
Yeah. Similar. I've got 2 older brothers, and my my friends would come around and end up being friends with them as well. So there must be some like pitfalls to avoid because there's all sorts of people that will warn you about getting into business with friends and family and stuff, because it can be quite easy to go like, oh yeah, well we don't need contracts, we don't need this and that and the other, and then as soon as money starts getting involved, things start to fall out and break up. Were you guys aware of that going into it?
I think we were probably a bit naive going into it, thought that we just like we never argue. What are you talking about? We were never going to be fun. I'm not going to dig up any old dirt, but I think any 2 people running a business together have had their fair share of arguments.
Yeah, for sure.
It's 4 years in now. We know how to work with each other now. We know when not to wind the other person off.
Yeah,
for the most part.
And going into making it a business, like you were from the ground, like let's make some contracts here so that everything's black and white. No,
a little bit of that, but there's not been too much of that. It's mostly just verbal agreements.
Right.
It's what I've done a lot. I've done a business degree and I've done a couple of courses and things like that. And one of the things I learned to do, and I do a lot, is verbally contracts and just sort of say, this is what I'm going to do today, and they go, just simple as that. But it helps set expectations and things like that. But that's a microcosm of that. But at the same time, constantly reevaluating and talking about our plans and things like that. And I think there's no secrets between us and things like that. So it's
do you have set times that you do have like check-ins for your business meetups and or weekly discussions?
We're pretty flexible.
Yeah, we just kind of make sure that we know what we've got to get done by certain times. So we don't have like strict deadlines, but like we're going to need this done, this done, this done, and this done.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know he's got a big list that he just kind of works through and ticks stuff off. He likes to make lists, which is good to keep. But
yeah, so we it's very dynamic. I mean, our work-life balance is really nice. We choose our own hours, but I mean, it sounds nice. You choose your own hours, and it's like, yeah, well, sometimes that's till 3 a.m.
Yeah,
it's like a couple of weeks ago, I was doing late nights and things, but
That's the unfortunate thing in it when you're working your own out. It's like, yeah, but there's no one there to be like, all right, clock off time, and so you just keep going and keep going and keep going, and before you know it, it's wee hours of the morning.
As you working from home, I'm sat at the same desk all day, every day, and then it's like, where's that? And then sometimes I think I'm gaming, but I've caught myself. I'm actually working on stuff like, oh, I'm working again. But no, it's good.
Yeah.
We really, especially with my dog and things like that, I really enjoy the work-life balance with the flexibility it gives us. It's a good way to live.
I know my audience. Since you've mentioned dog, people are gonna want to know who's the pupper.
Scout, are you gonna be annoyed if I wake you up? Oh, this is Scout, everybody.
Puppy.
She was just sleeping. So
how old is Scout?
She's nearly 3. She's a whippet. She's tiny though. People keep thinking she's a puppy, but she's fully grown.
Oh, they're always a puppy. You're 14 years old and you're still a puppy.
Her and Michael's got a spaniel, and they're best friends.
Was the because Scout was one of the first set, wasn't it? It was the Ranger in session 0. Was Scout named after the Scout set at all, or you just like the word?
The other way around. She's in
yeah.
the picture of the Scout set. There's a little dog next to the Scout.
Oh, is that Scout? That's cute. Oh, that's so cute. There you go, people. I need. I know what my audience like. I was like, he can't mention a dog, and we can't not learn something about the dog. Scout got that dog. Cool. So you started the business. It started off immediate success, or you were like, oh, this is kind of plodding along. We need to change it up, or like.
I'm pretty sure like within the first week we made our first sale, and it kind of went.
Day, yeah. I mean, we thought. It went far better than we thought it was going to. In the first, we thought we would it'd be a little hobby on the side. We might be able to grow it. And I think so. I had a background in marketing anyway, so I had a reasonable idea of how to make a good website and things like that. And it looked very polished when we released. At the time there was a bit of a gap in the market in the UK for a dice retailer.
There was lots of websites, but a lot of them just were very clunky, very old. Like didn't have a good navigation. So
I saw that gap in the market. I remember I said to my dad a couple of years before, I'd buy some dice online, and I was like, I should start a website because these websites. I mean, there were plenty of other good competitors out there as well. We did our research, and there were plenty of people with very pretty websites with great dice range and things like that, which we were inspired by. But there was very low competition. Now we go to UK Games Expo, and there's like so many dice companies.
We've been there 3 times, and I remember last year it was like, wow, there's so many more dice companies this year, or people selling dice. And then this year it was just everybody.
Doubled again, yeah.
Yeah, every other stand had some dice. I was like, yeah.
So we're glad
and we were right at the back, so anytime they got to us, they'd already probably bought 4 sets.
Bugger, yeah. I got I went traveling for 2 months. Just came back this week. And while I was away, my deputy Fancy and I we decided like, hey, let's put a survey out to understand a little more about my community, like what the general makeup is. Is it mostly male, female? Are they old? Are they young? Whereabouts do they live? All of this. And as part of that survey, we also asked like, do you buy any supplemental D&D things like dice towers, any of that? And if so, what do you actually buy? And dice was the most commonly bought accessory. Like even people who don't play buy dice. And I was like, okay. And it suddenly made sense as to why people keep calling out for like, oh, have you got Robert Hatley GM dice? And I was like, no, I don't. I'm like, there's plenty of dice out there. I don't need to make dice. And they're like, yeah, but I want your dice. Everybody wants, like, yes, there's a million different dice companies, but that's because everybody wants dice for some reason. Even people who don't play.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, and like it's like, okay, good, that's positive. That's a positive sign that people are always willing to buy more dice, especially people who are themselves dice goblins and they've got a million of them. It's quite funny actually that I have like hundreds of dice. I got 100, and I think I've only ever bought like 1 or 2 sets myself. Like I'm just not I'm not personally like a dice I'm a mini goblin. Like all of these, I could collect minis till cows come home, because like there's always more minis you need, right? I've got like, yes, I've got 200 dwarves, but do I have a dwarf with a hood up with a dagger in one hand and a book in the other? Because that's the vibe of my new character kind of thing, and so there's always more things. Whereas with dice, I'm like, I love them and I enjoy playing with them, but I've got plenty enough that people just keep sending me that I'm like, I'm never gonna want for dice myself. I'm never gonna be lacking in dice.
You've got all your nicely painted minis behind you, but what's your cupboard of grey shame like?
Oh, it's a big old bag of it's a big old bag on the floor. That's my grey shame. I have my a pink owlbear that somebody gave me about 5 years ago. Just been sitting in here ever since. I've got all sorts of teeny weenies. I've got some amazing minis in here as well, like this dope ass earth elemental looking dude who's like he's uprooting a tree. He's got a stand that goes with him, where it makes it look like he's just torn off a section of tree. Like this tree here, it looks like he's torn it off and he's about to clobber someone with it. So yeah, awesome. I've got quite the grey shame here. And
you say grey shame, but you seem proud of it, Rob.
Oh, I'm very proud of how many minis there are, but unfortunately, I'm just not a painter myself.
Oh,
I've got some dragons that I'd love to paint. I should just employ a friend to paint them as well. And then this is not only my my unpainted shame; it's my box of one day I'll get around to fixing that. Like somebody sent me the D&D mini from the Viva guys, the Dragon of Schmagenrog that they officially made, and in the mail it got smashed up, and so I was like, well, I can glue that up eventually in several years' time. Are you guys much of painters yourselves? Do you do mini painting?
I got into it when we were playing at the table. A lot more of them are grey than they are painted.
One of our friends who used to play in our campaign used to always make everyone a mini. Like that was more.
Yeah, there's some up there. There's up there on the shelf. Can't really get it.
We had a painter, but it wasn't me. I've got another friend who also really loved painting Warhammer. I think he's got back onto that again, actually. So Etsy. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I love minis, I'm always happy for people to send them painted. I'm like, send them to me. I'm fine. I ain't gonna have time to actually paint them.
I remember I bought a pack of 12 goblins for this one fight, and I was like, I'll paint all these tonight, ready for tomorrow's game. And no, they were maybe got one of them done in that time. Oh, okay. That's how long it takes. And then when we stopped playing at the table. I used to do a lot of. I'll shout out this. I think they're called printable.heroes.co.uk. They you can just print them on a printer on card and then fold them in half, cut them out, fold them in half, and stick them on a penny washer.
Yeah.
And got drawers full of his minis that I've printed out and made as well. They were always good. And
I do love the variety of ingenuity people have had regarding what can represent your character, something that's all the different ways. There's companies that have made a living just doing 3D 2D tokens and making those nice, and then you can get plastic cutouts that are visible from both sides. There's cardboard ones you can get that are like the bad guy, and then you can flip them inside out, it's a little tent of card, but then you flip them inside out to make them look wounded, so that if they're on less than half health, you can keep track of that and stuff. There's so much ingenuity regarding minis and things. And then of course there's Lego minis, which is how I got my start when I first started D&D. I was using Lego figures for all my monsters. I even made one that I'm super proud of, and it sits on my my desk in front of me, because I would make all of my monsters out of minis, and so I made a little roper for when they went through the Underdark, and they've got the tentacles, the single eye in the center with a big old mouth, just like the and when you turn it around, it just kind of looks like a stalactite, and then it turns around and reveals it's actually a roper. Yeah, super cool things that people can do with minis. And then of course there's the edible ones, to go back to what we're talking about with the edible gummies and stuff. Edible, because just using gummy bears or Smarties, Skittles and stuff to be the goblins, because then when you kill them you can eat them. And it incentivizes like people kill stealing from each other because they're like, I'm gonna get the kill on this red gummy because I want to eat the red one.
Well. Is my Goblin
nice.
from our last campaign, and then he's an artificer, so there he is in a mech suit.
Oh, nice. Oh,
Like,
that's
it's like
dope.
a mech head that I just tilted downwards, and it kind of looks like a
That's
Goblin, which is
that's so good. Yeah,
great power gauntlet. So yeah, actually, I want to get them printed off,
I love
painted,
that.
pre-painted. But yeah,
Yeah, always pre-painted. Unfortunately, I've had a couple of the Hero Forge ones sent that are pre-painted, and I just wasn't really. It has like a tacky kind of a finish to it that I didn't like.
I just send it to my friend to paint then maybe.
Yeah, I always if I am gonna get a mini, I've got an artist friend who paints minis incredibly well. He painted these Ettins that a fan sent me. A fan sent me a couple of Ettins because I mentioned on stream that I didn't have any, and he was like, "Oh, cool, here you go." And so I got 2 Ettins sent to me, and then I sent them to my friend, and he painted them up. He's a fantastic painter, but he doesn't actually. It's not like a passion for him. It's just it's more that he just hates grey minis. And so when he's like he's got a bunch of miniatures games himself. I play a miniatures game with him called Imperial Assault, which is a Star Wars themed game. And I've played it with somebody once who and it was just grey minis, and I was like, man, I can see the difference. I can see what he means. Like if you're used to just playing board games with the grey minis that come with the game, you kind of just get used to it. But once you've played with actually well painted minis, you don't want to go back. You don't want to go back to playing with grey
We use a lot
stormtroopers.
of grey skeletons and stuff in it.
I feel like your friend there could have his own paladin subclass, like Oath of the Paint or something.
Oath of the Paint. Yeah, his tenets are must never paint, must never play with unpainted minis, even if that means having to paint minis for people. And he's an animator as his full-time job as well, and so he's super creative and artistic, and like he the Rancor that he did for the Star Wars game, he got some like hot glue and put it out of his mouth so it's looking like a dripping saliva strand and stuff, and it's like moves like saliva as well, but it's like properly solid. Very clever stuff. He like the Darth Vader with the lightsaber. He puts like the glowing red across the Darth Vader suit as well to make sure that it looks like it's actually. He gave me, I think it's here actually somewhere. There it is. He did this one for one of my home games. Jesus, you're dusty. You've been sitting there for a long time.
I was about to go grab some there. I was like, actually, they're gonna be covered in dust. I won't show.
He did this one for my home games, and it's an Earth Genasi lady who has a giant maul made out of like the heart of an Earth elemental. And it doesn't do it justice here, but like the gems that are around her feet and the gemstone that's used as the heart of the Earth Elemental, it looks transparent. And I'm like, how do you make opaque plastic look transparent by painting it? I don't know how you've done that. It's just because like he's good at like touching the details of like all of the sharp edges of like got that white highlight on them because he understands everything as an animator. He understands like how to make something look like it's under lights when of course it's a static image. And he's got that Zenith stuff down of like understand where your light source is and paint all of your highlights from that particular direction, so it looks like there's an actual like very very good mini painting, but he just does it because he has to rather than because he's passionate for it. I'm like, you're so goddamn good at it though. Do the gummy dice go all sticky and do they roll properly? I don't know. I haven't actually rolled with any gummy dice. I think more to the point, they're just there to threaten the other dice. You're like, if you don't roll well, look at what might happen to you, and then you eat the dice, and then the dice are like, I better roll well today.
Yeah, every time I walk past that stand, I think it's a cool idea. But I could just imagine like a hairy dice.
Oh, yeah, just if you actually use them as dice. Gross.
Hair and scout's hair.
Yeah, just lick the one and then roll it, and it sticks onto the one, and it's like, oh, 20 again.
We've actually had quite a few good ideas for dice-related things. Like I wanted to make dice cubes at one point, and like a big dice D20 whiskey rock that you could just put in a glass. They've been done now, and they've done really well. Another one that we wanted to do was so dice that you have physical dice, you roll them, and they go onto your BTT, and that's Pixel Dice have done that now.
We actually came up with that idea before Dice Goblin. We were like, even like we were researching the sensors and everything you would need to do to make a digital dice.
Yeah.
And then like a month later, it's like pixel dice and did like $1 million in a day. I'm like, God.
Who is listening to our Discord?
I got sent some by a company, Go Dice, I think they were, and they were like, "Oh, we've got these dice that are like you roll them and you can digitally blah blah blah." And they sent me a set, and I was like, "Oh, let's do some stories about it." And I was like, "These don't work." And I tried them and I tried them, and I was like, "They're just not working."
We come up with that idea, and then we tried to find it, and we found them Go Dice, and we're like, okay, so like they're not the same. Were they just D6s as well?
Yeah,
At
just
the time they were.
D6s. They changed it to have like there's a D20, but you still just put the D6 in the D20 to see what.
Yeah.
And it's only the D6 that actually works. But then, yeah, the Go Dice just wouldn't work. Like 4 of the 6 sets that they sent just didn't work. And then I told them, like, I think you've sent me a faulty set. And they sent me another set and it still didn't work. And I was like, I'm not promoting your dice if they're not working, dudes.
See, I backed pixel dice, and stupidly I thought, oh, transparent dice. That seems like really cool.
It's just bright lights.
You can't read a single number. It just blinds you. So you end up using it digitally because you're rolling it, and you're like, okay, but I can't see it. I may as well just make a dice roller. I mean, I think
it would come up. But
when I looked at their most popular choices, this was like the transparent dice was the popular choice, and I was like, yeah, maybe I was an idiot.
And now you understand why. Yeah, it's one of the things I've always said about dice. There's always the toss up of like it's readability versus beauty. And it's one of the first things that drew me to your dice. I was like, these are some very pretty dice and very beautiful dice, but the font that you've gone with is so readable and still like kind of chunky and artistic and like feels like a goblin's written it. It's like, oh yeah, that's goblin handwriting.
We get a lot of compliments on that, and we did. I mean, we had a short list of about 50 fonts, I think, on the iPhone, and we kept. Like, I'd have to find that document again out of interest, just to see where we could have ended up, because it's become so iconic to our dice now that we have that same font every time.
Yeah,
I'm very happy where we went with it. I think before we had a much thicker font that looked really cool, but we were just worried that it'd become like the paint wouldn't quite work because the wells for the paint were too big. Whereas this is like, we know this is going to paint well.
Yeah.
And yeah, they well.
So when you got started, you were just doing retail, like, wholesale stuff. No, sorry, retail selling stuff from China, and then eventually you were like, let's make our own. What was the process at that point to be like? How do you begin knowing what to do to branch into something like that?
So it was a lot of, I mean, trying to find the factory. Session 0. Oh, okay.
So how did we come across the what ended up being the Goblin range? I mean, so we had. To be fair, some of Michael's ideas at the time were we were talking about doing the weapon sets. So like, oh, this is the battle axe, this is the longsword, or we could do spell sets, and we were going for all these different.
So stuff like if you need a weapon with 2d6s, you sell it like a longsword or whatever.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Like a fireball set would have, is it 8d6s or 6?
8d6, yeah.
Yeah, third level. But and then we were going through. We had quite a few of them. We had weapons, like I say, spells. We had locations, and then I think like archetypes is one we just kept coming up with more archetypes. I'm like, that could work. You pick an archetype to play your character. And I honestly can't remember between the two of us when we decided to make all of them like goblins with goblin artwork. I mean, Michael's sister, Becky. Shout out to Becky, who's our amazing goblin character artist. You can see her Death Knight there.
Nice. It's your sister that does all the goblin art, Mike?
Beck Wilder, I'll give her a shout out if that's okay. But
absolutely, give her a shout out. It's incredible artwork. I've always really enjoyed the goblin artwork for your sets.
She's been an artist as long as I can remember. Like growing up, she was always drawing. It's just something she loved, and she actually played D&D before me. It didn't get me into D&D, but it just like she's done it before, and like she actually does commissions for D&D art. She does like other stuff at the moment. I don't know, like the high stuff. I don't even know what that is. But
what's her handle? How do people get a hold of her if they want to do commissions for the artwork?
Michael will put it in the chat now.
Thank you very much.
I think that's
you'll hit her up on Instagram. Add her on Instagram. Oh, he's on slow mode, so we can't. There we go.
For people watching this on YouTube later, it is Beck Wild Art, Wildart.
She actually done some commissions for our first Session Zero Kickstarter as well. I think we had a level in there for.
Oh yeah, so we had. Look, you haven't actually shown those. I wouldn't know where to dig it out now, but she did on my first Kickstarter. We sold her artwork like commissions. I think it was like £75 or something, and we just gave all the money to her. So went straight across to her, and she came. So someone had like a Jedi Goblin that she did for them, but it was all like people different characters Goblinified. There were some really cool ones.
Nice.
We got really lucky in that front that like we knew somebody who could give us what we wanted. And like when she first, the first Goblin she drew for us, I was like, oh my god, I love it. I like what we said is basically we want pretty much the same Goblin, just cosplaying as all these different archetypes pretty much.
Yeah.
And like I think a lot of people do like to buy dice based off their character, so we know it's not going to be perfect every time, but if we base all of our dice designs off that, there should be, the longer we go on, like somebody should be able to find something that matches their character.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a brilliant strategy for the business that you're going with. Is that, as you say, like people go, oh yeah, I've got 200 sets, but I don't have a set that's perfect for my character the now, which is like a non-binary bard who's into this and this and this, and they really like cooking, and they do this and that and the other, and they wear black on Sundays, but they only wear colours on and they've always got like an idea in mind, and it's like, this particular set is very close, but not quite.
Like I'm really happy with how these bakers turned out. It's like
the bakers are cool. I like the bakers. So you got started by like getting the artwork and stuff, just getting the concept done, or were you doing the non-goblin stuff first with like your solid orange and your August time, autumn time and stuff?
No. So it was always our designs have always been the goblin ones. So that's the only ones that are our own designs specifically are the goblin ranges.
The ones with our font are the ones that we've done.
I mean, it's so I think I'm trying to remember. So there's three ways the dice set comes about. In that we either have a perfect idea for a goblin, and then we work backwards from there.
Right.
Or we have a perfect idea for the dice set. We work that way, and then the third way is sort of Becky getting involved in that process a little bit as well. Sometimes she sends us a design that we weren't expecting. Like, actually, that's way better than what we said. We're gonna
make the dice fit to this artwork.
Yeah. But what
I love that the art is so inherent to the process then of the actual like making of the dice. Yeah.
So we start off. I mean, I could jump it down. We design the dice, but color theory comes into. I'm a graphic designer, so I know quite a bit about color theory.
Right.
And so actually, with session 2 specifically, I started with a color palette rather than designing a bunch of dice and choosing the palette from that. So I was like, it's quite obvious as soon as you look at our latest Kickstarter, but we've got the neon green and the neon pink.
Yeah. And
then I've had a few more neon colours, and I got my Halloween orange out of it, and I was like, right, this is a block of Halloweeny dice goblin-y colours now. And then I started applying that to the dice and seeing what monsters we could attach to it that way around. I then I used Blender 3D software to make 3D mock-ups of the dice, and then we send those to Becky, who is our character artist. So like I sent her a document. On one side of it this is the 3D render of the dice. On the other side of it, we have a bunch of artwork inspiration.
So a lot of our inspiration, if it's not obvious, comes from Simpsons and Futurama. The Fiendish dice set, If you got the box in there, then people.
Where's he gone? There he is. So, if you were to Google Devil Homer, this is just what Homer wears when he dresses up as a devil. So the options we send her just have because we watched loads of cartoons. We're heavily by cartoons. I'm trying to think of another example of so the Mystic. We just sent her Mickey Mouse in Fantasia. With the star. He's in like a blue robe with a star.
Yeah.
Right there.
Just be like, make our goblin cosplayers. Yeah, make our goblin cosplayers the Magician's Apprentice Mickey.
I mean, sometimes, so the Professor Brains this time around, I sent her. I think it had like Hubert Farnsworth from Futurama,
right? Yeah.
And it had the dad from Edward Scissorhands. Edward Scissorhands, creator.
Yeah.
The guy from Nightmare Before Christmas. He takes his own brain out.
Gotcha. Yeah.
All those sort of ideas were on there, and then she took that and made it completely her own.
And the devil set from our most recent one. And Ned Flanders.
Ned Flanders Devil was on there.
Yeah, we send her a lot basically, and she kind of puts it all together into something different, but still amazing every time.
It's very rarely any edits for. Like, sometimes we're just like, oh, that the dice have come out a bit more red than that, or whatever. Can you just change that shade? But there's very few edits in Becky's work. She smashes it every time.
Is she doing your like family mates rates on on such amazing artwork, or is she?
Yeah, I think so. I think she could charge us a lot more for commercial artwork.
Yeah,
but
I'd imagine.
you know, like we pay her good money, and she does well out of it as well. Considering how tiny we are as well, you know, so a big, actually, a fair decent chunk of our investment into a range of dice goes towards
The artist cost, because that's like an upfront cost for us as well. Like when she's finished, hey,
Yeah, that's the thing that people take for granted is like how art is. It can be expensive, but it's so worth it because you're paying for a lot of experience in the artist and all the time that they've spent practicing their craft and getting better at it. And it's a good investment, I think, because good art is huge.
And try drawing yourself.
Right.
I'll
like
save some pennies.
I'll save some pennies by doing some Pictionary myself. It's a duck. What are you talking about? It looks nothing like a penis. Yeah. So you got started into session 0 with your own designs. So all of the ones that aren't Goblin dice on your website, the solid colors and things, those are the ones that are remnants, leftovers of your retail side of things.
Yeah, I think we've had some gaps between Kickstarters. We're like, our shop has got nothing on it. We need to get some more products in, so we've bought some. We have some that I've been meaning to photograph for ages that we're going to put on our store this month.
A lot of the reason that we still have them is because trying to compete with the cheap Chinese dice, we need cheap Chinese dice that people can afford. Like some people couldn't. I mean, our dice are retailing at the moment for $14.95 for the package sets. So for session 2, we've been doing blind boxes, which brings the price down quite a lot. So we're aiming for around £12 a set, and
which is incredibly competitive because like I look at the I go to conventions and stuff. I just went to one in Melbourne, and there were some dice that were just like regular sort of dice, like your kind of dice of like they'd fit in with my dice bag, and they were like $120, and I was like, why? How are you? Who is paying? How do you? What? Who's paying $120 for dice? That's not a thing that you can. Like if they were made out of gold or something, I can understand. If they're made out of gemstone.
Were they sharp edged?
Even sharp edged dice, $120 is a lot.
It depends if a person made them.
Well, Australian dollars is a bit.
Yeah, well, if that's a small creator that sat there making a set of dice, that's probably taking them. It's probably at least 4 hours work. So you could say, oh, if it's taking you 4 hours for a set of dice, then you could see yourself charging $120. But there's people buying and selling. We know we're not going to out anybody, but people are doing it. They're buying very cheap sharp edge dice from China and trying to charge them for $100.
Yeah,
but,
it's amazing how expensive dice can be. So then to look at yours and go like, $15 or whatever it is, £15 or whatever it is. It's like, that's.
You want it to be an impulse purchase. You want to be in the shop. Oh look, I'll get a set of dice because that's what dice are. Really. And obviously you have got bit of purchases, but I mean largely our competitive edge against our competitors is down to. So Michael actually went to China. Michael's wife is Chinese, and so after our session 0, our first Kickstarter. We spent a lot more on those dice because we didn't know the manufacturers. We were just new to the game, and they were like, "That cost that much," and we were going, "Cool."
I done quality control on session 0, and so I basically researched, and with the help of my wife as well, I researched a bunch of different dice manufacturers in China. Most of the people who tell you they're manufacturers or factories are not factories; they are agencies. So an agency brought me to one factory, and I said, "No, we're looking for resin dice, not acrylic." And so, okay, well, tomorrow we can go to our resin factory. I went to the resin factory, and it was the same factory that I had to go to in like 3 days. And I just saw our dice just laid everywhere. I was like, "These are our dice." Like, what? No, these are another customer's dice. You can't look at it. I was like, "No, they're not. They're mine."
Those are my dice already.
Yeah, so the manager pulled us aside, and so now we've got a relationship directly with the factory, which is good because they're very good at if they make a mistake, which everybody does, it's really easy to get it cleared up and get what we want out of it. So
I mean the fact that Michael's wife Ishwen can translate for us as well. It's just huge. You know, the fact that we
Yeah.
have a Chinese speaker on hand. I mean, he's always going, "Well, babe, could you just send this email for me, please?"
Yeah, something's come in. Can you
But
do a
she
translation?
doesn't get paid. She doesn't get paid.
I was gonna
Which is
say
unfortunate.
she's doing you Supreme Mates rates, which is 100% off.
Not that we get paid.
You started with your like finding the manufacturer, and you started designing them with your understanding of like color theory and stuff. At what point did you go, we've got enough to start a Kickstarter? Like, how do you know? Because some people I talk to about Kickstarters, they're like, you can't even start the Kickstarter till you're ready to go and you've got everything ready. And some people are like, get like 80% of the way before you start the Kickstarter and you can find out the rest. Like,
I mean, with Kickstarters in general, a lot of it is down to email lists and getting people to know about your product. Like, I mean,
yeah,
3 years ago when we done Kickstarter, there was more traffic, just generally went through it, and people would discover stuff on Kickstarter. It's not quite the same anymore, but because we'd been running our shop for a year and we've done quite a good amount of sales in that year, we had a decent email list. So, and we also put a lot into marketing beforehand to make people aware of it. So like that day one when you launch, like everyone is already ready, they know it's coming. That's generally the best thing.
So the fact that we did the business plan of buying and selling dice for a good year, or I've got get my dates all mixed up. It was a year or two before we launched the first Kickstarter.
right.
Probably about 18 months. And we built an audience. You know, at that point, it's not that big, but we had like 3,000 followers on Instagram. We were doing our first convention at UK Games Expo, and everything. What we planned, what we still try and plan to do is have new Kickstarter ready shop at UK Games Expo, because you get at least 100 people walking past your stand that are genuinely interested and will scan. But I mean, succeeding in the Kickstarter, as Michael's already said, is that it's all about promotion and making people know about it beforehand. Because if you can pump numbers straight away, it gives people confidence, and then it grows itself. So, I mean, when do we know we were ready for a Kickstarter was the question, but I think it was once we felt we had an audience that were engaged and we could do it without it falling flat on its face, sort of thing. And we've done that every time we've done it. So it's all about finding your audience. We with our unique branding and stuff like that. I think I heard a quote the other day from some business guru who said that a good brand is like doing business with a cheat code. It's like if people, because it shows people to stop and look at us and go, "Oh, I love this," you know, and it's so important to it. So yeah, I've rambled, but in answer to your question, you're ready when you're ready, and you're ready when you've got an audience who's ready to listen to you to launch a Kickstarter, really.
Yeah.
So it is definitely harder for the who have something, because I've seen a lot of stuff on Kickstarter that's like really good, but obviously they don't have the audience to back
Know
it
who
up.
they are.
Yeah, there's all sorts of like little things that people have told me about, like, oh, it's obviously not an exact science, but it's a pretty good rule of thumb that like you can look at the number of people who have signed up to the pre-launch page, and then you can do like maths on that to be like, okay, well, 10% of those are actually going to do in the first week, and then 5% of those are actually going to go to the highest tier, and you can work it out and go like, just from the pre-launch page, you can be like, this is going to be successful or not, often, if you know what to look for.
Yeah.
You what was it? That was something just reminded me. Oh yeah, I was going to say you've heard the expression, of course, the customer's always right, and the full expression is the customer's always right in matters of taste, not meaning that the customer can do no wrong, but like that you can't argue with the customer over what they want. If that customer wants to buy this, then let them buy it, because the customer's always right in matters of taste. And I really got that impression when I was doing my private sanctums over the last 2 months. So for anyone who doesn't know, I run a private game whenever I go traveling that helps me supplement the cost of traveling, and it also allows me the chance to meet my fans and like run some more games in my home world. And so I run paid games with like 6 people at the table wherever I went. And because I did a lot of traveling over the last 2.5 months, I did like 11 private sanctums in all these different locations. And then you guys, as my dice sponsors, were sending me free sets of these amazing dice to give to some of my players. So I would message the players ahead of time, and I'd say, "Hey, you're getting a free set as part of coming to Private Sanctum. You're getting a free set of dice. Here's the Dice Goblin website. Pick one that you like the look of. and the number of people who picked ones that would be my last choice, like just solid
So
color,
Rob,
like
if they picked solid orange over our new orange dice, then
solid orange, like solid orange, and it wasn't just one person. Like 3 or 4 people picked solid orange as their favorite type, and I was like, I mean, customers always right in Maz's taste, but like the solid orange would probably be my least favorite dice on the entire website.
These aren't the solid orange.
These aren't the solid orange. These are our own solid oranges.
These are
camera.
these are the Halloween ones.
The
Yes.
colours a bit off because of just the lighting and whatnot. But
Yeah.
I can't make it out. They have like a sort of black peppering. They've got like a black and gold glitter through them.
There's a little extra in them. There's that extra bump, bump of like this is a special Halloween set that looks like pumpkins, and of course it's got the typical Dice Goblin font on there that's super readable and things. Yeah,
These ones we were talking about matter of taste, and like I really hope that people like these skeleton dice because we were a bit worried they're quite basic. But what doesn't come through in the camera is they've had like a different finish to them. They're like a rough sort of rougher grit sandpaper on them, and they are like
They just feel nice to hold.
yeah, they're like a really nice textured, and they're so I've got a real thing for like quite basic dice, really. Like I've seen dice in all shapes and sizes and colours and sparkles, but when I've just got a dice that feels nice, is really easy to read in my hand.
Yeah.
I really.
Yeah, and I think they go
it.
well together as well. Like one of the things that I think you've done really well, and it's clear that you do understand color theory and you do understand like graphic design because it does mix together really well. Like the two that you've just got there, like there's nothing particular that says like that bone white and that pumpkin orange should work together, but it does. Like it obviously goes together well, and you can mix them in, and then you can mix in the other ones, and I really love about this current set. I really love that that you've got like pairings, like you've got there with the black and the orange and the black, and then the Professor Brains and his monster, the Frankenstein's monster set, and you've got the green and purple and green, and they mix together super well. I think that's a fantastic choice, and a lot of effort has obviously gone into thinking about that.
The green and purple were some of the first. Yeah, the light needs to be turned up a bit.
God, they don't half look like gummies. They don't half look like gems.
A bit. But yeah, so these green and this purple, like so Rob, actually we had a few meetings with you when we were first coming up with the ideas for the one shot, and we were and it actually started off as a very sort of classic Art Deco Agatha Christie like murder mystery style thing that we were going to do, and we had like the groundskeeper, which became the Undertaker in the end. And it wasn't until I started playing around with colours and I got this neon pink and this neon purple and this neon green together, and I was like, oh, we could do that sort of Beetlejuicy sort of vibe, like overly cartoony Halloweeny thing, and I think that just seems so much more on brand.
Just the Green Goblin as well.
Yeah, true, very much so. And it kind of like looking on the screen at the moment, it's like your logo as well with the green goblin face and then the sort of magenta hat.
I mean that's one set that we still haven't done yet. Just a dice goblin set, but
we talked about doing that. Yeah, just one that looks exactly like our logo. The scout sort of does a little bit.
I remember that was in the stretch goal actually. Was that?
We talked about the stretch goal, but they're secret, so we're not.
Secret stretch goal. That's amazing. Yeah, they're very pretty, very beautiful. And one of the other things that I really appreciate about Dice Goblins, the Goblin sets, is the fact that you include 2d20s so that you can roll with advantage or disadvantage, and that the 20 on one of them is just a 20, and the 20 on the other is the picture of the Dice Goblin logo.
Our little market.
People always put it upside down.
Yes, people. So
I did say that's good for us because it looks like a goblin both way around.
It's not coming up.
It does. Yeah, it is. It is great. I was going to say I think you've got it upside down, and I thought no, actually because the goblin's ears are pointing down. But yeah, it's good design that it does look like a goblin either way.
Either way.
We could show. Should we show?
We haven't the secret set, the super secret that we haven't unlocked yet, the rare set.
People were asking me on stream yesterday because you sent me some 3 of this new session 2 ones, and people were asking me, can we see them? And I was like, I don't know if I'm allowed to show them actually, so I'll hold off.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't got the artwork for these yet, and in my mind, there is 3 characters, so maybe we could have some input from people.
Ooh,
I think I know this. Right,
Okay.
right. Noise is finished. Okay, so we've had several ideas of what character these should be. They're not going to come up that well on the camera.
Oh no, they look the same as the other one.
Yeah, so
they do look awful similar to the,
I'm not going
other.
to restart my camera now, but they are essentially maybe my normal camera could pick them up. They're two-tone black, so they're translucent black and solid
Oh,
black
yeah,
with
yeah.
metallic gold numbers and gold, thick, chunky gold glitter throughout them.
Right.
We're both pretty
Gold.
sure that these are the Lich, right?
So I was thinking the other day, I was thinking maybe Grim Reaper because that could fit in well, but the Lich was what I'm thinking. Like,
I think they're the Lich in my head.
they were based on the Lich when we did. Well,
We have more secret sets, but I'll keep those secret. So
Nice. Some Litchy ones. If it's more of a goldy kind of color, then it makes sense to be something that's got that more wealth kind of behind it. Something that's been alive for many years.
What's that? I don't know.
We're all discussing where the Lich.
I watched an animation recently, and there was basically a Lich guarding a pile of gold. I can't remember what it was. Was it because the dragon?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
I can't.
Animes.
It's not an anime. It's an animation. It's not Japanese.
Japanese. It's Korean animation.
Western one.
It's like when people call Avatar: The Last Airbender an anime. It's like, well, it's not, but
I can't get him to watch Arcane. Like Arcane's not an anime.
Have you not watched Arcane?
We've been playing an Eberron campaign, and everything reminded me of our campaign.
It's so good, man. It's so good. It's such a good show.
Thank you, Rob.
It's such a good show. It's so well written. Such good characters.
Someone said Adventure Time in the chat, but Adventure Time is a huge influence on me, especially. And
all right.
Yeah, I think that's probably my favourite cartoon of all time, Adventure Time. And so we haven't spoke about our future project, which is actually quite Gobbo's is.
Gobbo.
Which is quite Adventure Time. I mean, it's basically, long story short, we've got our own TTRPG on the way, and it's very cartoony, silly. Goblins, of course.
Yeah.
We know it. We wanted to lean into the silly side of role playing with a rules light system. But so much of the world building that we've been doing with Gil, who's our game designer, but he's also he's been doing the bulk of the work on the world building with some input from me. But he's also a massive Adventure Time fan, and we keep we have these different kingdoms we're building and things like that. So it's very much like that.
That's cool.
We are currently playtesting Gobbos as well. If anyone is interested in playing a easy to learn D6 based system,
you know what?
Hell yeah, that sounds great. Where are the?
I can put. So we have a Discord channel that I can invite people to. That I will put in the chat now. And if you were to join that Discord channel, there is a download channel which you can get in Quick Start Guide. So we have 4 classes available now with a short starting adventure with the the basic rules. I mean, I sent it to my dad to read it, and he says, "You called it a quick start guide, but it's 30 pages."
The DM still has some homework to do.
Yeah.
But like we play tested it at UK Games Expo, and people sat down, and they were like, we had like a 9-year-old girl playing it within like 10 minutes, made a character and started playing. Like, it's one of them games that's like great to play with kids. It's like
you can pick up and play sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, in short, which I can explain to you pretty quickly, is that it's call it the G6 system. But you have a pool of 8d6, and depending on your stat, we have brains, brawn, charm, luck, fight, and fleet. But so say you wanted to lift something heavy, you want to do a brawn check. I have a 6 out of 8 in brawn, so I'm going to roll 6d6. And then the number of 6s that I roll on my roll is the number of successes, the higher degree of my success.
Yeah.
But what is fun is it's just roll loads of dice every time. You have like 8d6 on these constantly rolling 8d6. Yeah.
It's normally the DM that has all the fun. You see him pick up like a pile of like so many.
The DM rolls no dice in our TTRPG. The DM is like he's just there to guide the madness. GM, sorry, Goblin Master. It is called.
Of course, the Goblin Master. That's really cool. So after your first Kickstarter, the Session Zero, did you see major success? Was it like as good or better than you were hoping for? Was it about as was it below average?
Yeah, the first one done really well. We probably weren't expecting to do that well just from the start, but
Okay.
I think going into the first one, I set my expectations. I was speaking to friends, and they said how well do you want to do, and I said I would be disappointed with anything below 10,000 and really happy with anything above 25,000, and we did 40,000 or so in the end. So it was like, it was really good. We haven't managed to quite capture that success again in our last two, but I mean they've still been very good. I think that we at that time we were retailing a lot more dice and we had a lot more marketing funds and we were just pumping hundreds of pounds a day into ads and things like that. So our marketing budget has been far smaller. So if you look at it from that sort of angle on the second two,
it has been harder from us since we stopped selling cheap Chinese dice, if I'm going to be completely honest.
Yeah,
Because so with probably our fault to a degree because we had over 200 sets on our website and then we moved down to 12. That's not, I mean, all our audience, our current people who love to buy dice from our website, they were probably disappointed because they wanted to just, I don't know. They bought a lot of dice, so there was,
Yeah,
but
and
yeah,
if you're going on a website for like if you're trying to catch repeat customers, then it's like, oh well, I've got the poet set, and oh maybe I want the mystic set or the apostle or whatever, and then it's like, and then I've got the ones that I wanted, and then there's not that
exactly.
200 selection for them to sort of capture their audience, their attention as they're sort of scrolling through them and being like, oh, this is a cool set, I'll get this one as well.
I think people used to just sit on there and scroll. That's the thing. We
Mm.
could scroll for ages. There's lots of different dice, and like, oh, pretty, pretty, and then they just end up filling a basket. But
I guess
for
then
these,
after a few more Kickstarters, 12 sets per Kickstarter, you're going to eventually build up your own dice again to a point.
That's the long term plan, yeah. But
That's an argument for reprinting, I guess, is like get those dice back again.
Our first sort of shock that came with like, I think the first time we felt like we weren't succeeding anymore after Session Zero, we did so well on the Kickstarter. Michael went to China, we sorted out our suppliers and everything was looking great. We had our Session Zero dice arrive, and we thought they were going to have really good sales on our website of them. But what we've really done is absolutely hound our audience with our Kickstarter. So anybody that wanted the dice had kind of, our audience had already had that opportunity through the Kickstarter. So we're getting better at, we focus more on getting them into shops now. So after Kickstarter launches, we get all the stock. We're calling up shops and we're hammering them with emails. We go to the local game shops here and things like that. Because we really want to see them. And that's, you'll notice in our packaging and this time round with the Session 2, because that's where we're sort of making our money post Kickstarters, that we're actually really trying to focus on the shops and not offering for those. Which is partly we've done blind boxes. I know the blind boxes haven't been popular with everyone, but people go crazy for blind boxes in the shop. They see it and oh, I could get a surprise set of dice. Helped us bring the cost down, and we think it will do better on the shop shelves. Is the experiment that we're sort of running with.
People were asking me about that because I was talking about it on stream yesterday and showing off the dice and stuff, and people were like, oh, I think I'd be more into it if it wasn't a blind box though. And I was like, yeah, but they're trying new things. This is their third Kickstarter. They're trying it out, seeing if it works, and I'm sure they'll take it into account if they see less demand for it because of the blind box, or even more because it's like a mystery. Then yeah, it's something to account for. I also said, like, look, if you've got one dice set out of those 12 that you really hate and you're like, I really don't want that dice, I'm sure if you just include that in your order or something and just be like, look, I'm happy with the blind box, just not this particular dice set or whatever, then
we've been debating while we're talking candidly. We've been debating whether or not to put QR codes on the bottom of the boxes that will tell you what's inside it.
Right.
Problem with the Kickstarter is that massive. If we give people the choice, it starts to massively complicate the fulfillment process. We've massively simplified fulfillment by doing blind boxes. So we've already worked out the process that we're going to do for maximum.
So I feel kind of bad about this in the sense that we've got some backers who have like backed our previous two campaigns. Like, oh, I'm trying to collect every single one of your dice, and I want to get every dice on this Kickstarter. So they pay £100 for the 12 sets of dice. And they say if I want to get the rare set, which isn't even unlocked yet, but if we get to 15k, that unlocks. So if they want to get the rare set of dice, they got a 1 in 48 chance, which we were looking at it from the view of being a product in a shop where if it's a blind box, a lot of people love blind boxes. You buy it, you might get the rare set, and it's like, oh, awesome. But from the point of view of people who have been collecting all of our dice, that's kind of screwing them over. So what we're considering, not necessarily going to do it, but we're talking about is should we make it so that the rare set is available on just Kickstarter, so that if they back our Kickstarter, you can choose to just buy the rare set, but don't do the same for the other 12. But then if you do that, then we've got, for the fulfillment side of things, we've got to make sure all 12 of the first things are in the 12 box, and don't put any rare sets in these ones. These are going to customers who order trucks. So it gets, I don't know.
It gets silly quickly.
I mean, it could be done, but it's just a lot to get through with the language barrier. But I mean, with our factory, but I mean, we can overcome that. But just to make sure they do it right, because we don't want to just be sending. I mean, it's going to be hard enough to make sure everything is packaged the same and sent off, and there's not going to be duplicates in each.
Yeah. So that's why I mentioned this point when we're saying blind boxes. You can pledge on the dungeon crates here, which it's going to be a box of 12, and there will be no duplicates in that box of 12. It's just a 1 in 48 chance that one of them might be the rare set, and then you're like, oh crap, now I've got to keep buying sets. We will on our Gobos Discord. We might open up a dice trading channel for people that that say, I've got this set, but I want that set. Does anyone want to trade? Which I think would be cool.
That's a pretty cool idea to get people into a more community feel about the whole thing as well.
Yeah.
Encouraging that Discord use is always a smart idea. When I first started my Discord, and I wanted to make sure I was encouraging and incentivizing people to be on the Discord and use it as a community. Every month, I would take the top most common users, the people who are using the Discord most, and I would take the top 10, and then I would select 5 from that crowd and run a D&D game for them for free. And that incentivized early use of the Discord, and now it's a self-sustaining thing. It's a whole community, and the Discord's constantly pumping. The most active, that's the word. Yeah, the most active members on the Discord got to run a game with me every month.
We're massive Discord users. We've always talked about running a Discord, but we didn't want to just create. But why do we have a Discord? It needs just to talk about our dice. Now that we got the Gobos on the way, it's the perfect. Because that, and now we want a community. We want playtesters to be there on there asking us questions and things like that. So now we've got perfect opportunity, but we'll keep that Discord going as a community. How many people have we got?
So how did you how far into the session 0 process did you start thinking about session 1? Was it while session 0 was going, or did you give yourself time to actually chill after session 0 before starting about session 1?
There's a lot to do with funds and how many dice we could afford to make. And the reason we're doing Kickstarters is because we can't afford to make 12 sets. At one point, we wanted to be doing it so 112 a month. So, sorry, 1 set every month. So not doing 12 on Kickstarter, just being able to release every month a new set, every month 1 new set, and then there's 12 a year. And then it gives people something to I like that one, I'll get that. Or if they don't like it, they don't get it. But it's just a constant.
We did have that, or having quarterly force. A Goblin party we would release quarterly, for 4 new dice or whatever. And that was so that was coming out of session 0. We were okay, we wanted to move away from Kickstarter because we don't like relying on that, but it works for us because we're so tiny. We need it to survive. But we just couldn't find a way of funding those 4 sets on their own again. And we thought, we could do a small Kickstarter for 4 sets. And then I started designing some dice. We'll do a Kickstarter for 4 sets. And then, before we knew, we had 12 designs again. And we're maybe we'll do a Kickstarter for 12 sets again.
We'll do session 1.
And it's from the formula that's stuck. I mean, that process, like I said, we had that process of the session 0 dice arriving here, and we shipped out all the Kickstarter. And then I think it was at that point we spoke about ideas for session 1, but it wasn't until we were right, okay, now it's session 1 time when we got prepping. So session 2 was to fast forward a little bit. So after session 1, we were planning to do Gobos as our next Kickstarter before session 2, but just the timeline and things that we're looking at, thinking it's not going to be ready.
So we had a massive setback with session 1, which is the only reason session 2 wasn't done earlier this year.
Yeah, I was hoping to bring up the anecdote and hear about what happened here.
So many people talking about how they were looking for ways to break into their wisdom warehouse on our behalf, which was lovely, but I don't do that. I don't no idea how it happened. Our pallet got shipped on a container with like in a container with other goods because we didn't fill a full container. And when it arrived at the dock, customs opened up our things, rewrapped them, and stuck the wrong label on, like from one of the other four
Label
pallets.
swapped.
Yeah, pretty much label swapped our pallets, and they end up at Amazon warehouse. And Amazon, you just cannot get hold of. You talk to everybody in Amazon building, and nobody, well, not in the building, but like every support like line you could go through, every way of contacting the warehouse or people, LinkedIn to try and get hold of managers. Like nobody would help us. In the end, the only person who helped us was somebody from the RSPCA who received our goods from Amazon. So they obviously didn't look very well because they would have found them. But
I mean, yeah, you can't. I mean, Michael's condensed a very stressful 8 weeks of our life.
yeah,
So it was literally like I would. So I've got another job that I do several hours a week. I used to get up from that job and like, right, we jump on call. Right, what numbers are you going to call again today? I'm going to call these numbers again today. And like all these managers were told, they're telling their staff not to speak to us anymore. So people, the Amazon staff knew when we called up, like, we know who you are, blah blah blah. And it's like, but you're still not doing anything about it.
Yeah, you're not talking to us because we're being a nuisance. Do you know why we're being a nuisance? Because you're not fucking talking to us.
But like, all we
just
did
talk to
was
us and deal with the problem that we're coming to you with, and then we wouldn't be hounding you.
Yeah. I mean, it was a mammoth, like a humongous warehouse. We've been down there now to pick up our goods, so we've seen the place. And I was looking on Google Earth, and then anyway,
That's insane.
All we needed was one person in that warehouse, because they could have told us, oh, what happens to goods is they go to the liquidation department.
But we knew that. We knew that from researching ourselves. But they still wouldn't. We even told them, like, check with liquidation. That's probably where it is. And they were like, oh no.
Well, I've sent your number to so and so, and they're going to give you a call back. And
if they label swapped though, like, did you receive a bunch of like Amazon toasters or some shit?
Oh yeah, we got a bunch of bath bombs. Valentine's Day bath
Mother's
bomb,
Day,
some sort of bath bomb gift sets that we promptly returned to where they should be. Unlike Amazon, who's like, "Yep, sure, we'll take."
We rejected. Michael got off the pattern like, these aren't our stuff, and then sent the delivery driver away. We didn't accept.
And same day, called Amazon, like literally the same day. Like Amazon probably hadn't even received it yet.
Yeah.
Like, I don't.
Hey, letting you know,
Like,
this is what. So, in whatever system you're using to keep a track of your own fucking goods, when you should be getting a pallet of these Mother's Day bath bombs, like, this is where our dice are gonna be. All you need to do is accept that, fucking hell.
That was a Chinese company. We tried to contact. Like, they told, like, we were told so many things. We were told to contact that company and get them to sort it out with Amazon, and they wouldn't do it.
And the Chinese company had no idea what was going on. They didn't know who Amazon was. They didn't know what they go. Well, we've shipped the goods. What you on about?
Yeah.
Then we had the other warehouse, this customs warehouse, who would swap the labels, but they're going, well, sorry, we swapped the labels. Nothing we can do about it now. All we need is someone at Amazon. I mean, we were honestly building our lawsuit against Amazon.
Right.
That was our.
So in a way, it's bad for us that our goods actually finally arrived, because we could have probably sued them for the full
Sued Amazon
value
for a
of
lot
the
more than the value of the goods. Yeah.
It's like we stole everything at once. Just send your stuff.
I think both our hairlines went back an inch in that time.
Given that Twitch is an Amazon subsidiary, I for one love our Lord and Savior Jeff Bezos.
He's finally returning.
He can do no wrong here. I don't give a shit if Twitch one day decide to cancel me because of the amount of times that I slag off Amazon and Jeff Bezos. Then so be it. I'd rather have my opinion out there than have to pretend like I give a shit about that evil cunt. Anyway, so you eventually got your. I'm allowed. It's my stream. I can tell people not to say a certain word, and then I can say it. So, look, there are some words that you can. There's no better word to describe some people. All right. I will. I'll say. So you got your. So you got your pallet through. I imagine that was incredibly relieving, the moment that finally arrived, and that was literally everything, all of the session 1 order, like
everything except for one box. And did you have to drive back up to get the second box?
So that's another. So this, after we finally got the stuff back of Amazon, we got home and counted it all. We were like, there was 1 or 2 boxes missing. At that point we were like, we'll take that. And when we say boxes, there was 250 dice sets in a box or something, 200. A lot of dice sets. There's a big box of dice. And then we were calling back, and Michael called back up Amazon again, saying, like, just so you know, there's still 1 box missing. And they'll go, look, definitely not there. He's like, could you just look? Like, okay, we'll just look.
You called them up, and their response was, "What part of our interaction so far thinks that we're gonna give a shit about? Makes you think we're gonna give a shit about your final remaining box?"
Oh, turns out there is another box. Surprise, surprise. And I had to drive back up from Amazon to go. So it was a good hour and a half drive, and then an hour and a half back again. So I had to go back again the same week. But we couldn't we had to hire a big truck to go last time.
Yeah.
And I was like, we don't want to pay for the truck again, so I'm coming in my car. Like, oh, you can't come into the lot in your car. Anyway, we had to agree for what they did is they got 3 warehouse members of staff to wheel this set of dice on. It was like the entire length of the warehouse had to take this pallet down to me. And then the guy was having a go at me when he got to my car. He was like, you can't call us anymore and ask for this stuff.
Yeah, I can, because it's my stuff. And if you've got my stuff, I can call as many times as I fucking need to get my stuff back, you bastard.
Oh,
Sorry that I'm inconveniencing you, warehouse worker, for having to wheel a fucking pallet around a warehouse, as opposed to me, who's been without my product for 8 weeks.
All I said to him was like, "You put us to the edge of going out of business," and he was like, "Oh." I was like, "Yeah, just." So we were, we were thought we were done at that point, and then, but that's to the long-winded answer to this question. That's how sort of the gap between session 2 and session 1 was supposed to be fairly quick, but that just disrupted everything. And not only did it disrupt those 8 weeks, but we were 2 months behind in sales. Our bills had racked up, everything was put out of whack. So we spent the whole year recovering up to this point now with session 2, which was supposed to happen earlier in the year, and then Gobos was supposed to be about now. But we've pushed back Gobos a little bit just to give it a bit more development, get it as good as it can be, and we focused on this. Gil is probably, as we speak, I think he's running a session tonight. Actually, he's running a playtest of Gobos because I had to do some couch sheets from earlier. But we're working on session 2, but he's been messaging me constantly. He's been working really hard on the world building and stuff like that. So excited to. I mean, we always think people join the Discord, but we're really excited people get eyes on that and get more feedback. But we're in a positive feedback loop in a minute for it. So
I told you at the time, like, you need to get that story animated, like the story of the dice, like just make it like a little Homeward Bound adventure. If you remember the Homeward Bound movies from the 90s.
I mean, honestly, that was our plan the whole time. We were talking about like, okay, we've got to make a story out of this. We've got to milk this. Everything.
We've got to somehow because it's going to cost us everything. We need to somehow recuperate by making content out of this.
And I did like a big post about it when we finally got the dice back. And I did a Kickstarter update, an email to the Kickstarter backers and things like that. But we just wanted to put it behind us. I think we we could have made Amazon lots of sales, and we could have dragged this out. But I think we both wanted to forget about it.
Yeah, it was a very stressful 2 weeks. Like, nobody wanted to talk to us. Like, one guy, even like early on, he from the factory that made the mistake, because like basically it was the customs clearance in the UK is outsourced to some other company who outsourced it to some other company, and this company that was on the paperwork, I called them up, I was like, I've been told by my manager not to talk to you. I was like, oh. but he said they found our dice. He said they found it. So somebody very early on said they knew where they were.
He had like 2 false alarms. Like, we found your dice. I'm like, oh, fantastic. Oh wait, no, they're not your dice.
No, there's someone else's dice that we're fucking over.
You know what? We were talking about the story of Dice Goblin. I should have thought this would come up, but like I say, it's been buried deep.
I forgot about it until I was wondering, why was there such a big gap between session 1?
Oh, that thing that we don't talk about.
That dark part of our history. Just suddenly everything goes film noir, and a cap appears on your head, and you look down.
I want to respond to chat because someone said, to be fair, it wasn't Amazon's mistake, and no, it was not Amazon's mistake. But Amazon could have. They could have a phone number that you could call, and they'd go, "Oh, okay." It was. Yeah. The fact was that every phone support line you call was for either being an Amazon customer or for being an Amazon shipper. The people that sell on Amazon. So I go, "Okay, what's the seller number?" Like, no, we're not a seller. I was like, "Oh, I can't help you." Well, can you tell me who can help? Like, no. That was every single line. Was like, "We're not the support team for your problem, so we can't help you." Which, to be fair, to them, their employee.
I mean, if a company with 2 people could turn away goods that are wrong, a bunch of bath bombs, and Amazon, who are, I don't know how rich a company they are, they should definitely be able to turn away.
They are all the rich. Yeah.
All the rich, yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't Amazon's mistake, but Amazon is responsible for their own customer service. Yes, exactly. But here's the thing. When you get as big as Amazon are, you don't have to give a shit about customer service because
And that's exactly how it felt.
it doesn't matter. They have all of the customers as well. As long as people
and
keep
you
using
can't
them, they
go
don't
and
have
knock
to
on the
care
door.
about service.
Michael really wanted to go down there and say, "Can we just go and knock on the door?" And I was like, I showed him all the Google Earth recon that I'd done on the building. Like, there is no door. Like, you're
Don't have a door.
yes, there's a barbed wire fence that you can't get past. It's got turnstiles that you need a scanner for.
Well, I mean, even if we talk to security, they might have been able to do something for us. They
We'd
wouldn't.
desperate.
But,
They
yeah,
wouldn't.
we'll get
They
to
wouldn't
it.
because they'd be like, "I'm security. I'm not nothing to do with any of this.
Yeah.
Like, it's not my
That's
department." Every single person would be, "That's not my department. I don't care."
That's exactly what it was.
Can you tell me who is the department? No, it's not my department to tell you whose the department it is. That's not part of my job to tell you whose job it is.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the RSPCA's job to tell me who gives them stuff from Amazon.
RSPCA are a animal charity here in the UK, and Amazon donated our dice to charity, and that's how we found them back. So the charity called us like, "We've just Googled your dice, and we think you're missing them." Like, oh,
So Amazon, when they find a bunch of product that they either can't sell anymore or they can't find it on their system and they've stolen somebody's product and can't be asked giving it back, to a point where you're hounding them so often that they've put you on a blacklist, and they find your dice and then go, "I don't know what these are. No idea why we have these. We'll give them to charity because then we look good because we donate. Then we can write on a document every year that we give X amount of dollars to charity." And so they gifted your dice to a charity, being like, "RSPCA will be able to do something with a pallet load of
They
dice."
just looked it up and looked on the back of the box. There's a contact number. Even on the boxes they received was our postcode and stuff.
every single box had our
Every
postcode.
single box had our postcode on it. Like they could have.
That reminds me of the time that I lost my wallet and somebody turned it in, and thankfully I managed to get it back again from the train station. But I went to the train station platform to be like, "Look, I lost my wallet a couple of days ago, and it might be here. I might have lost it on the train." And then I looked past her and I was like, "Oh, it's on the shelf behind you." And she goes, "Oh, is it this one, this leather wallet?" I was like, "Yeah." And she goes, "Oh yeah, we tried like working out whose it was, and we couldn't." And I went and I got it back and I opened it up and there's my driver's license in there. There's my university ID. There's my fucking business cards. My business cards with a QR code to all of my social media. It's got my email address on there. It's like, I was like, "Oh, okay, thanks for trying." And she goes, "Yeah, no worries." Just missed the point I was making entirely. I was like, "Okay, great." It's got my bank cards in there. That's obviously you could have contacted my bank and said, "Hey, Mr. R.A. Hartley's missing his wallet." Yeah, it seems like they've done the same.
Someone's in the chat talking about the fact that technically stealing Amazon withholding the items because it's therefore fake.
Yeah, that's what the case was going to be built on.
So we found out that the thing that we were going to go after them for was called unjust enrichment, which seemed quite ironic for a billionaire company.
Yeah.
And even the fact they donated to the charity, we were going to argue the unjust enrichment. You got some corporate, you got some CSR, some corporate social responsibility points for donating. You got to look good as a business based on our stolen goods.
Stole some stuff
we
and
did
gave
have
it to charity to come across as the good guys.
We did have a case, but we couldn't afford lawyers. But that would have been the next step. But luckily, we got it. But
luckily, you got them back.
Afford it.
So then onwards to nicer topics. You how long until you then were like, "Let's go session 2"? Was session 2 another case of like, let's do a Kickstarter for a smaller amount, or by that point you were like, "Hey, this is our model now. We'll do a set of 12 every Kickstarter"?
It actually came out from UK Games Expo really, because we were showing off Gobos at UK Games Expo this year, and we had Gil with us, but that was about 3 weeks or 4 weeks after we got the dice back. So that was another thing. We had the show come up. We have nothing to sell at this show because the dice hadn't turned up. But it was that was when we finally we had the holders after the dice, got fulfillment done, got ready for the show, and it was actually on the stand that we were stood there talking about blind boxes, and we had the murder mystery idea, the Art Deco whodunit style thing, and it was really, I think, the week after we came back from UK Games, so like, right, okay, let's pull the trigger on session 2 because Gobos isn't going to be ready for another sort of year. So yeah, I mean that would go back to July this year.
We done
June,
some mystery bags at UK Games Expo, and they were very popular. Because he's always kind of been against the blind box mystery idea, because he said I want to pick my dice, which I agree with. But I love mystery boxes myself. Like I don't know, I always, not always, but a lot of the time I'll just pick up a mystery box. Oh, what's in the box? It could even be. I don't know. But yeah,
I mean,
big fan.
there'll be different people. I'm sure that this, as if nothing else, this is an experiment that will tell you, like, hey, let's not do that again, or absolutely let's do that again because it got even more popular than the previous one, or whatever. Like, you'll learn from it. You'll learn about your audience and the market that you tend to aim towards.
Yeah, I mean, Michael has, even on session 1, he's been saying that I would like to try the mystery box idea, and I'm not a gambler. You know, I'm not a gambling man. I don't like. I'm not a risk taker. I'm risk averse. So the blind boxing doesn't appeal to me. And then we put a bucket of, as Michael said, on our stand saying, you know, lucky dip dice. I think there was some sharp edge sets in there, and it was like 15 quid or something. And they just
sharp edge set in a lucky dip. People put their hand in, come out bloody. We said there was sharp edge dice in there. I made a D4 out of razor blades.
I think by the time I saw a guy buy his 3rd set in a day, I was like, maybe we should try the mystery dice.
Maybe we should try the mystery dice.
Blind boxes.
Is it at all possible to do like a best of both worlds situation where it's like cheaper to get the mystery box and you might get the set that you wanted for cheaper, but it's actually like you could just buy the set you want but for more expensive? Is it?
Maybe the QR code at the bottom. I mean, so it's Kickstarter fulfillment. I mean, it's already, you know, the boat has sailed now on this Kickstarter.
Yeah, on this one.
But I think that, because I know actually the idea came about because I saw that Lego minifig do little blind bags.
Yeah.
And scan the QR codes on them to see what's in the blind bag. I was like, if Lego are doing it, maybe that's what we should do. I think maybe that does give you the best of both worlds.
Yeah, maybe. So that if somebody really does need to know before they buy it, this has to be this one. But if somebody wants the mystery, they
somebody has, like, for the people who back 12 of our sets, if they get the rare one, like, oh, but I also wanted that 12th one. Like, the reason we put the 12 box so everyone can have one of each is so everyone can get one of each, for the people who really want to collect. But yeah, we don't want them having a 1 in 12 chance and getting a bunch of dice that they're not gonna want. That's like, so we were thinking about mainly from the point of view of somebody going, oh, random set of dice, and I think they're all really good, but obviously people have a preference. So some people might not like the orange set, and if they get the orange set, they might be disappointed, which is a shame. But then they'll buy another set.
Yeah, but no, I think the idea of having that like tradable channel in the Discord's a very good idea. Of like, hey, I did get the orange set. That was one of the only ones I didn't really want. So who else has got something? Who wants to trade? Blah blah blah. That could be a good way to do about it. But either way, I think it's going to be an interesting and successful endeavor to take things in a new direction. See if this is something you want to do more in future or something you can learn from. See if there's ways to adapt it, take the best of both worlds. So that sort of gets us. Sorry, go on.
I would say a lot of what it does is it does reduce the price of our box. It reduces the size, so shipping it over to the UK is going to be a lot cheaper. The packaging is going to be a lot smaller, so people could just put it on a shelf in the local game shop, which is kind of where we want our product to end up.
Especially over overheads and complicated things got cut out by doing it. It's hard to sort of quantify it when you. I mean, now that we're dealing with, we've gone from 12 SKUs, 12 different barcodes to one barcode on the, and it does really simplify things.
It lowers the entry price for businesses as well. So if a business just wants to try out 112 box, it's not going to cost them too much to get that, put it on their shelf, see how it does. If it does well, we can get repeat business from them. So trying to act as the B2B, trying to get in with that audience, as if we can offer something that they can test out with a relatively low start cost.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
So that sort of brings us into like what's happening present day and into near future. Like so the Kickstarter, I imagine, is all of your focus right now. Gobbo's currently taking like a backseat till the Kickstarter's finished.
Yeah, so near future is a lot to do with packaging, fulfillment. I am going to China in January around the time, but basically I need to meet my wife's family for Chinese New Year. But I want to try and drag her to Guangzhou to the factory so that we can do some quality control on the session 1, session 2, and make sure everything's getting packaged correctly. But finalizing the packaging is the first big thing. Like basically, it all depends on what we unlock in the stretch goals, making sure everything's accurate. So finalizing the packaging, the box packaging, what's inside the box, like whether we're going to use like tear open bags,
Right. Yeah.
or anything else like that. Just getting fulfillment sorted, pretty much.
Someone said Dice Goblin Advent Calendar, which is something we've spoke about
Dice
a million
Goblin
times.
Advent Calendar was a very early one that we wanted to do, and it's something that we'll definitely get around.
We talk about it every year, and then we go, "Oh crap, it's October." We should have been thinking about that 8 months ago.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Around session one time, we wanted to do an advent calendar. It wasn't going to be a Kickstarter either. We just wanted to make one. But
no, yeah. So the day-to-day present future though, for like the next 3 weeks it's coming up with new content and ways to promote the current Kickstarter. We're trying to we've got very limited budget in terms of like ad revenue and things like that. So Rob's been helping us out. You've been helping us out loads. But I've got we've got Halloween coming up in just under 2 weeks, so we want to get some special stuff together for that, for the Kickstarter.
just give kids dice instead of the sweets, and then when they choke, and they will make national news. Everyone will know about the Kickstarter.
Everybody will know about it. No such thing as bad publicity, they say, right? Just give out dice at Halloween trick or treaters. Your Kickstarter and fulfillment's kind of understandably right on your mind for the near future, but like, what's like far future, longer distance goals over the next few years? What's
well, it really depends on how Gobos goes, really, because we've sort of created this universe with the little adventures we're doing and our characters, and we're building up this cartoon universe, and Gobos will be the first real installment of any sort of world building that we've really tried to do. And I mean, things with Kickstarter, we predict it will do around £20,000, something like that, and we'll do good, and people will get out there, people will play it, and it'll be good. But it's not, it's not going to completely revolutionise our business model, but it could. So we don't really want to make too many calls until we get a good sense of how popular that's going to be, because at that point we've got slightly conflicting ideas in that Gobos is going to be D6 sets. This is what I said about the D6s earlier, which are class based. So we have a mystic class, we have an alchemist class, we have a beekeeper class.
The beekeeper is very popular, by the way.
The D6 set will be popular for that as well. So it's like, do we just make the sessions, make the characters, and then make them into Gobos archetypes afterwards with D6 sets for them, or do we start just focusing on Gobos and releasing dice sets for that? I don't know. I think I would love to keep doing the sessions because I love how much space there is for creativity. I mean, session 0 was with just the archetypes. Session 1 was like, should we try and get a sort of a theme going on with these archetypes? We don't want a too strong a theme because it's too early days to be like, really wacky theme straight away. But session 2 is the first time that we've really been able to go hard on the Halloween, the spooky house, haunted house theme. Yeah. And there's hundreds more of those that we spoke about doing. Do Wild West one. We could do
I was just going to say Wild West one.
We've already got 2 cowboys.
That's true. So. We have already got 2 cowboys. But my point being that I like the idea that sessions can become very themed things with a one-shot adventure involved.
Not enough pirates. Yeah. That's one.
Pirates is a great one.
There's Biggity Boggity Bay in our world, which is where the pirates live. Dino Island doesn't have a name. We have a dinosaur island. It's currently called Dinosaur Island.
You've got Biggity Boggity Bay and Dinosaur Island.
Yeah.
So
he's got
naming team went on lunch break.
We've got this place called the Wastes, which is actually one of my ideas that Gil has developed quite a bit. It's basically a huge dump. All the kingdoms all funnel all of their waste, all gets thrown, and then there's a race of raccoon goblins that all live there, are trash goblins. But then we kind of wanted to have this Mad Maxi vibe to it that wasn't going on. So Gil's put a big ring around the wastes where it's more deserty. And he's called it the Outskirts. It's an SAKRTS. And there's like a Mad Max racing ring that goes around the edges of the wastes, and it's with very very tropey, but we twisting all the tropes where we can, and things like that.
Yeah, you got to have a Mad Maxi area somewhere in your world, surely.
We went through all the fantasy tropes. We're like, let's find them a place. We have our medieval city, we have our volcano, we have our desert full of ruins, we have our Wild West area. Yeah. We have an Australian surfer place called Banana Beach. It's going to be like there's all foods there.
Nice. So then,
it's been really fun.
so then finally into like the far distant, like long reaches future, like blue sky. Where would you love to be in like 10 years, 20 years? What do you imagine you might be doing? Maybe not even making dice anymore. What would you be?
Oh yeah, I want to move to China and open a factory. That'd be nice.
We were pushing enough inventory that we were just, we had our own. So it hasn't got to be huge, just a small little factory. But Michael's.
I wouldn't want to pump out too many dice. That's the thing. I mean, I kind of like having 12 sets a year that's collectible, but I wouldn't want to go. Like, there wouldn't be much need to have a factory because I wouldn't need to pump out that many dice.
The factory's just you.
It's just me. I'll just work it myself. So
get your wife to work for free. No, she's good to us. Thank you, Ishwan, for all your help.
She's really great.
How about you, Eddie? What's your goal isn't to move to China and start a factory?
No, my goal's not. I hope Dice Goblin's still going. I hope that we've got many more sessions. I hope that Gobbo's. I mean, we've spoke so much about where Gobbo's could be after 5 years of releasing more content for it, releasing more dice, more classes. What does that mean? A second edition, So blue sky thinking would be that Gobbo's takes off and people realise that it's a really fun pick up and play TTRPG that has actually gets traction, and that we can just keep releasing. I keep having fun with the releasing dice. I love coming up with these dice sets from the goblins, and like the world building has been so much more. Like the world building's the next level of all of the stuff we've been doing. But we're very creative people. Gil's really creative as well. Maybe next time we'll come on with Gobbos and we'll have Gil here start with us because he's great.
Nice. Jelly Snail
Yeah,
says 10 years from now, still searching for the last box set from Amazon.
I just want to have as many sessions as I can. Like you said, session 7 earlier, and the idea of a session 7 was exciting too.
Yeah, man, I love the idea that you've just got you just keep going every year, 12 more.
That's kind of what I hope for. I hope that we can keep going and it gets popular enough that we can make a decent living out of it. That's just, at the end of the day, that's all that is. A bit of publishing like what we're doing with Gobbos, I hope that's a success and we can look into doing more things like that, working with other creators and getting other people's ideas out there. Because as I said before, a lot of people have these great, because Gil, who's created Gobbos, the designer of the game, like we've worked with him a lot on it, especially Eddie, but he came to us saying, and he basically pitched this game to us, and you said, you know what, we love it, and we're going to help him with it. So the quick story of that was that he came up with this game and was like, "Oh, it'd be really cool to Goblinify this. It could be called Dice Goblin." And he googled Dice Goblin and he saw all of our characters. Oh my god, this is perfect! And he triple emailed us as well. We forgot to reply to him. I was like, "Sorry, dude, I haven't seen he's coming in. Do we have a meeting next week?" And that was about 18 months ago, and we've been working together ever since. It's been really good. So. It's been really watching the game evolve over time as well, because every single time something changes, like, oh, there's no longer HP. Okay, now there is HP again.
There's no HP.
Okay, there's no HP.
No HP. We have parts. We don't have HP.
That's cool. I love it. All right. Well, I'm conscious that it's 11 p.m. for you, so let's jump into some questions from the audience, and then I'll let you get off. So if you want to ask questions, thank you for your patience while I've been chatting with my amazing guests. You can redeem the Ask a Question copper piece, whatchamacallit, the redeem thing. What do they call these things? Viewer rewards, whatever it is. You can redeem your question there so that it goes into a list and I make sure that I don't miss it. So I'll open up my requests queue now and we'll see what questions have come in. While I get this up as well, is there anything that we want to tease about the Kickstarter? Any of the currently hidden goals? Because people know that you've been making this one shot about Professor Brains' haunted mansion, and all of the different characters in the monster sets are NPCs in this one shot. And people have been. It says like what's with assistance and co-writing Robert Hartley GM. What else am I assisting with? Is there an exclusive we could talk about potentially?
You're skirting around the subject, but you could So Rob has already agreed as one of our stretch goals that he'll host this one shot. Probably with release of the actual range next. We'll have a spooky night in April next year, perhaps, where we'll hopefully get some special guests around the table. To
tie into the actual like release of the dice once the Kickstarter is being fulfilled and such. I'll be running a if we make the goal, the stretch goal, I'll be running a session of this one shot on my stream, and I'll have some of my guests on, the usual people that you've seen in my community, the other D&D creators and such. And I'll run them through a spooky goal. So that's an extra incentive to jump onto the Kickstarter if you haven't already.
Yeah, I'm just laughing because we keep describing it as spooky. It is it's spooky in a cartoonish sort of sense, but it's also very silly.
It's a spooky.
Our brand is definitely silly and like silly and blank, like whatever it is.
Silly and spooky. Yeah.
Yeah.
Alrighty, let's jump into the questions then. Bob Jones asked, "What is your favorite material to make dice out of?"
Resin. So we've done. I mean, mostly we've sold resin dice over the years. We've dabbled in acrylic and metal dice. There are some really nice metals. We do want to do some metal dice.
Okay. So when I was in China, I looked around several metal dice factories because metal dice is something that we've always wanted to do, and I was not happy with the state of any of them. Like,
right.
Yeah, I think you need to. Yeah, well, we've had some good supplies of metal dice. I think I do a bit of 3D modeling, and I just want to. I mean, I'm constantly developing those skills. I'm not that good at it yet, and I always think one day I'll be good enough to design, like a really good range of metal dice with a really interesting mold to them. But in answer to your question, resin just. I mean, it has the nicest sheen to it. It makes the sparkles pop the most. Acrylic can have some really nice dice. I actually, like I said earlier, I really like basic dice. But we haven't actually made any of our own acrylic dice.
We do a lot with the epoxy resin.
Yeah,
you can get some really great effects just
with the blending. Yeah, especially with like the way the colours fuse together. And we haven't done much colour blending in this range to show you. But resin is the number one for us.
Would you? What is the thing about resin over acrylic? Because that's something you were talking about before when you were sort of going to factories, and that was a big.
A lot of it is a lot of it is what you can do with resin. I mean, acrylic dice generally aren't.
So, long story to understand the process, acrylic dice is injection molding. So you have a massive like mold, and then you have a big machine that fires plastic into it, and it cools very quickly, and you pop all the dice out. And they're nearly ready to go. Whereas resin dice are a hand process still. Even our mass-produced plastic dice are still hand poured, which means I don't know how much dice making you've watched and things like that. But you can do things like what's called a dirty pour, where you can get a big jug of resin and then you can swirl some ink through it, and that ink sort of swirls as it pours, things like that. We don't do any of these in our own range, but you have the ability to put things inside them. Like you get little skulls inside them, and people do that sort of thing. The flexibility of resin is just far greater because of that hands-on thing. Injection molding, you're like, I want red and I want blue, fire it through the machine into the mold. Right. Whereas resin is a much more handcrafted process.
Right.
And also, if you want to go the injection molded process, you need to make like 10,000 of each set and stuff. And we're not quite. Right.
I think it's at least. I think the molds are like 5,000 die sets big, and then you've got to buy it. We've also got to buy that mold. So if we wanted our font on that, we'd have to go and buy a big injection molding acrylic thing.
Right.
They come out much blue, but you just don't get the same what we're trying to say. You don't get the same creativity because of that hands-on process that we can really be things that we want.
And what about like weirder sort of out there like bone? Have you ever looked into like bone dice or like gemstone dice or glass dice or any sort of more?
We spoke later about getting gemstone dice. There's a lot of fake gemstone dice in the market, which doesn't lead you to. So they'll say they're tiger's eye or something, but they're not. They're factory made.
I really want to do a dice goblin math rock and do
rocks.
Gemstones, but and just rocks. Yeah. One of my favorite dice. I'm going to answer a question somebody asked anyway. But one of my favorite dice sets that we've had was just a very simple stone-looking coloured dice. Mm-hmm. It was still acrylic or resin, can't remember, but
that one.
it wasn't very popular. But I really loved it. It was
One of those sets, like
just a little stone.
there's been some that I've got in them. Like, I need to order more of these immediately. They're going to sell out straight away, so I order more, and then they one set sells in 3 months.
I have always found like a fascination with like novelty dice. Like as much as I said earlier, I'm not much of a dice goblin myself, a dice hoarder anyway. Like I've got all the dice that I need, and I've got like a set that are like my favorite set, probably my first set actually. I can't remember that I just kind of carry around in a dice tray. I think it's here. Yeah, I've got my dice tray that a friend gave me for Christmas, and I just keep my favorite ones in there, and that's usually enough for my game. And then I've got my big ass bag of dice that when I do need to bring out like extras just to piss people off or like or make them worried, I can shake a whole bunch of dice all at once. But as much as I say that, like when it comes to novelty dice, I'm quite a fan of like I've got a D8 that's just a directional dice, and all the faces on it say north, northwest, south. And you can throw that to see random directions. I've got one that's like it's just like it's a D6 but with moods on it, like emojis essentially, and you can roll it to be like, what's the NPC feeling at the moment when you approch him? Oh, he's kind of flirty because he's got the winky face.
Guys for struggling relationships.
Yeah. Behind me, I've got pretty much I've got a dice of every number from like 1 to 30, I think. So I've got a D27, and I've got a D3, and those like sort of novelty dice. And when you were talking about stone, I was like, oh, I've also had an interest in like a set of dice that aren't weighted. They're like just carved out. They're just like chipped away from actual stone, and they're like they're close enough to be like they're random. But if you actually did 1,000 rolls with them, you'd find that they're massively biased. But they're just kind of skewed dice, and you don't know how they're skewed necessarily. They're just kind of like, oh, this is alright. Let's play around.
Unless you sit there and test it 1,000 times, like these dice are.
Yeah, exactly. Because there's a level of random with dice that's like it's close enough. Like if you do roll a thing 1,000 times and go, well, technically the 16 comes up slightly more than the 5, then it's like, yeah, that's an unfair dice technically speaking. But for the purposes of Dungeons and Dragons, where you're going to be rolling a dice like 10 to 20 times a session, it's like that's enough. it's random enough. It's close enough to what you need to see.
A lot of people think people do the saltwater test. I don't know if you've ever seen that. They put their dice in saltwater and it will show. So people worry about air bubbles in dice, but it's actually the edges that make a far larger difference. So if the edges are uneven, because that would influence it much more when it's rolling randomly to fall on a certain face. If, for example, one was beveled further, so it's just a hard edge to stop the dice.
And I did that once when I was starting to get into it, and I had like one set of dice. I did just sit and watch a TV show and rolled them just because I'm a maths nerd and I love spreadsheets and stuff. And I rolled the dice while I was watching something and took down all the notes of what it was rolling just to sort of do the key squared test, it's known as, to work out how fair they were. And I did notice like I think the 16 came to mind because I think it was the 16, and I was like, it looks fair. What is it about the 16 that's coming up more? And I was able to see that there was a tiny little bump on the edge of the 16 that means it's less like. So on the edge of the 5, that means it's less likely to land on this one or that, or the other one or whatever. Like if it gets to the 5, it's less likely to tip again onto the next one. It's going to tip. It's going to hit that little bump, and then it's going to stop, which means it's going to stay on the 16 or whatever. Yeah, it was fascinating. I would never have seen it. Like it was barely perceptible to my finger. I was rubbing my finger on it, and I was like, oh yeah, there's a tiny bump there. And it's amazing after you do 1,000 rolls of something, that's when it starts to show up slightly. Anyway, we're running on, so I'll continue with the questions. Centauri asks, what's your preferred D&D game type? All of the drama or all of the chaos shenanigans, or somewhere in between, or something else?
It's definitely the chaos. I mean,
I'll stand by to them. Sorry,
our table. So when we play, I wouldn't say that our friends are the biggest role players. Some more than others. And there's definitely, I think everybody's had scenes that have got dramatic, or they've got into it. But I think that really my players are a bunch of schemers and prep and planners, and I think that's equally as fun, and I think that's a great way to play. But as a DM, my absolute favourite is when it goes off the rails. Like, I mean, if we're suddenly halfway through a session and I've realised that I don't think I've prepped, so now we're just I pretend that I still have stuff prepped and we keep going. I mean, there's been plenty of reveals. I mean, you know, you could bore people with your D&D campaigns, but when the dragon reveal in the Everon campaign, one of my NPCs was actually a dragon. You know, and I didn't plan to do that.
Yeah.
But just the chaos that these guys got up to and the mess they found themselves in, they had to be revealed.
They need the dragon now.
Yeah, essentially, and but it made for a peak moment in the campaign because of the chaos, because it wasn't planned. Obviously, I alluded to earlier our first ever campaign. I think things got too chaotic with those Motor Herbos, so there is a limit.
Yeah, you gotta have a limit. All things in moderation, they say, right?
Scroll Age is good.
Commander Steele asks, "Does Dice Goblin ship to Alberta, Canada?"
Yes,
We do.
yes, we do. Both on the Kickstarter and currently on our shop. We can, I think, under $150, isn't it? £150 at $300.
I can't remember that.
As long as it's not a giant order, you don't have to pay any import tax, and can ship to you. Ship to you if it is a giant order. Some import tax on it.
Commander Steele asks, second question, will the pumpkin dice be available for sale after the blind box Kickstarter?
We're not going to commit to the answer now.
You might be able to trade them on our Discord.
You might have to trade for them. Yeah, you might have to buy a blind box and then trade for them to get involved in the community. We'll see.
You do get access to the one shot with the blind box, so you don't. It's not only dice. So if you're just going to buy one thing, you get the one shot as well as your dice set and the sticker.
But we're hearing a lot of feedback saying
the
that.
Stickers are very nice.
And the question that you put to us will get put into that pile of feedback because we are, you know.
Yeah.
I've seen it in the chat. People are saying, "I love blind boxes. I hate blind boxes."
Yeah, it's really just there's a lot of discussion in the chat about like, oh, I love them, I hate them. One person was like, the blind box is the thing that got me to like tipped me over the edge to get me to buy it. Fancy Unicorn asks, what D&D class is your favourite?
I've only played one campaign, and I was a moon druid, and I very much like that. I mean, that's not true. I'm in another campaign right now, but I played him for a good 2-3 years, so I really enjoyed moon druid.
Gives you a soft spot for it. Yeah, moon druid's great.
I've played a lot of different classes actually. I mean, my last campaign I was an artificer.
No, you weren't. You were a Kong. You were the.
Oh, it was a Kong. Oh,
we played. What's it called? Wild Beyond the Witchlight. We played a short campaign of that, and Michael played a barbarian. Monkey man. He was like a giant gorilla. I let him be large size, so his token was like twice as large as anybody else.
Yes, a barbarian.
But no, I think you said your artificer. Michael's artificer was probably my favourite character. He was a goblin artificer.
That's the one I showed earlier. Of the,
with the Iron Man.
I really enjoyed that class. But I mean, that's not a typical one. First class I played was a wizard. I feel like I would have played it a lot better if it was the last class I played. Class. I remember getting people. Eddie, so I always used to get like shit on for not doing any damage as a wizard. I'm a wizard and I can't cast fireball with hurting all of my friends. The one campaign I didn't turn up, Eddie played my wizard. Oh look at all these enemies nicely piled with no friends nearby.
Well, Eddie played your character for one session and he killed loads of people.
Yeah, like
I think it was literally a riverboat full of like people coming at them, and I was like, oh wait, I'm playing Michael's wizard.
I'm gonna set it up. I'm gonna set it up so that he's got a perfect opportunity for fireball with no collateral damage.
I always had fireball prepared, but there was never a chance to use it because there was always teammates there. And the one time I fireballed my friend, he got angry. So
what kind of meme wizard are you? I didn't ask how big the room was. I said I cast fireball.
I don't know. They were kind of metagaming when I got back there, so I metagamed myself when they were all giving my character shit for no reason really. So and they was like, oh, this is this big troll friend that we found last campaign. I can't remember what spell I used, but I used the one that makes him go crazy and attack everyone. And I just set up this giant friendly troll to just make him angry.
Very good. Virtuous Liam just says, well, you know what they say about goblins, which isn't a question, but thank you, Liam.
I know. Liam, piss off.
I didn't recognise the name, so I figured it was one of yours. Story Cobalt. Sorry, go on. The joke is what?
The joke is, you just say, well, you know what they say about X.
Yeah. And that's it.
That's it.
you know what they say about them, so I don't need to say it because you know what they say about them. Story Cobalt says, "Would you ever do a set with Roman numerals, please?"
Ooh, I think that the reason that you'd be hard pressed to get any dice company to do that unless they're massive is that you need a new mold. So we invested Session Zero. We spent a good chunk of money on our mold, which we're still using to this day.
Yeah.
Was factory owned for these dice. So you'd have, I mean, if you had just a D20, wouldn't be so bad. You've only got to buy one mold then. But once you get into a 7-piece dice set, you're buying 7 molds for the sake of one Roman numeral dice set. So unless you're going to run a Kickstarter just on a Roman numeral Roman numeral mold, that was hard to say. You'd be hard pressed to do it. I love the idea.
Man, you'd get some confusion when you roll a 4 or a 6, though, wouldn't you? Going IVVI. Shit, which was it? And then the other problem you'd find is, interestingly, in Arabic molds, Arabic numerals, you've got 6 and 9 problem, and so you need the dot on that. But then in Roman numerals, you've got the same problem with 9 and 11, because it would be IX or XI, which would look the same upside down. So on your D11s and D12s, you'd have to work out which is. And also the other problem you get on Roman numerals is that you do, if you went for a D10 in the usual numbering system, you label the 10 as a 0, and Roman numeral doesn't have a 0. So you'd have to just label it as an X, and people would.
I would like to see how our Goblin font would look with Roman numerals. So I use the X one.
Your percentiles would be interesting because, like, having to try and fit 3 X's onto the 30 side would be like, oh, how small do you have to go for that? It's cool idea. Yeah, cool idea. Hey, wait, I just thought the whole reason that 69 became the sexy number is it looks like, because it's upside down. So is the sexy number in Roman numerals 911? Because that's a very different number. Roman numerals finds 911 very sexy. Cinderfingers just says more click clack sounds, please.
Someone's also just said put the image of the goblin on the 0. Oh, that was something for the D10 they were talking about. We actually had a huge conversation when we first made our dice as to whether to put our goblin head on the 20 or the 1. But, all branding and marketing were like, you never disrespect your own logo. So we should put our own logo on the... it kind of feels like it should be a little bit, but... no,
but also, it fits in that it's the 20 because your whole theme is like the goblins are the good guys. The goblins are the ones that you play as. The goblins are the ones who are the adventurers. Like, even in this this one shot at Professor Brain's mansion, it's like the goblins are not the enemies. They're the ones that are dressed up in the the goblins are just having a fun dress up party, and then the monsters are hiding within them.
Humans have got to work out.
Yes, so we haven't mentioned that today, but so our world building we're doing, we go world of Garth is our goblin world, but goblins are advanced. They have cities and societies and education and all these things, whereas the humans are the ones living in caves, fighting over spears. So that's some quite fun part of our world. Don't think that will come up in Professor Brain's story all that much. It's the human. We do that.
Just the human dice set.
Skin-coloured dice set.
Human dice set, yeah. You just do it. You just do 12. It's your new Kickstarter. It's a 12 set, and it's just 12 of the different shades that human skin can come in. It's just 12 different shades of human skin. Fancy asks, which dice sets are your top favourites? Which ones are your personal favourites that you've made?
It was probably a cop-out answer. My camera's run out of battery now, so I can't put the good camera back on. But the Mystic, which are now sold out, and they're sold out for a good reason, because they were just... I mean, they were a nice blue set with yellow sparkles, and it just worked so well. The Baker would be up there as well, which I have to hand here.
Berserkers are my favourite.
So these ones... Berserkers look quite similar to these ones. They got like
they don't look as much like cake as them ones. But
no, these ones look like cake. They have like pink sparkles for the sprinkles, and there's icing, and that is the whole concept. I mean, as soon as I designed that dice set, I was like, that is a winner. That's just.
Are there any that's back to question for me? Are there any dice that you designed thinking this is going to be a winner, this is going to be an absolute seller, and then it was just like, wow, nobody wants these?
I mean, they've all I think there were some. At its worst, there were probably ones that sold like a third as much on the Kickstarter. You know, so like where one dice sold 150 sets, one dice might only sold 50. There were none that
Right.
like complete. The Berserker was one that didn't do as well because Michael's favorite dice set was Berserker, and I really like that set as well because they just look so barbarian-y. But we thought they would be like, you know, sometimes you think it's going to be the most popular, then it's just not the most
It
popular.
was Mercenary or Bandit, which didn't do very well last year. I can't remember which set particularly it was, but we're selling a lot more of them this year. Like they're more popular. So they were one I was surprised that aren't selling much, but they're doing it.
I think
Interesting.
we're not going to find out this time either because normally it's quite interesting when we get our table at the end. I mean, we knew going into session 0 that session 1, the last Kickstarter, the baker, the Death Knight, and the beekeeper. You could just tell they took them to the show, and everyone was going, "Oh my god, those 3 sets are amazing!" So we were pretty sure we were gonna.
Yeah, I haven't done the graphs on it yet, but I'm wanting to go through all of the ones that were requested for my private sanctums from all of my players and see which ones were most and least requested and stuff. Because Beekeeper and Death Knight definitely up there. Winter Ghost asks, would you ever make some larger than standard dice? Think like chunky D20s.
Yes,
we've been asked a couple of times, not in a long time, but a couple of times about making stuff for people who can't see too good, and we thought that could be quite a good one. So make one for like, I mean, all our dice are quite legible, but making a bigger dice.
You get tactile ones, you know, it'd be braille or otherwise. Or...
Yeah, but you've also, it's not only like seeing, it's people with like Parkinson's or people with like tremors or like not so great dexterity and stuff, like having bigger dice that they can hold and still move and around with and stuff. Just a larger set of dice would be kind of cool. Good.
I actually said to Michael
potential to look
about
into.
3 or 4 weeks ago when we were going through Kickstarter stretch goals and the add-ons and things like that, and I was like, you know, so we could just do a Kickstarter for our dice, but big. You know,
Yeah,
this is just,
basically, yeah. Just here's a big version of it.
It'd be quite nice to do a Kickstarter. It's like, this is one product. This is the one dice that you can buy on this Kickstarter. Like, that's not complicated.
We used to do D100 dice, and they were very popular.
Yeah,
they were the big boy is what we called them, and they were good. They
weren't good. I mean,
they weren't good. They weren't good dice. They were good if you like just span it in your hand and put your thumb on a number. But if you roll it, they would just
break your table.
Yeah,
it's metal. It's honestly like a weapon.
They'd break your table, and there's some numbers that it definitely won't stay on. Like if you try and put it on a number, like purposely place it, it'll just roll. So it's not like some numbers it's definitely not going to land on. Like so, yeah, they're not good for that. We did sell chunky dice.
I've got a one of my novelty dice. I've got a D120. That's it's mathematically fair dice. Like I bought it from a maths website, Mathsman, yeah. And you roll it and it just goes until it falls off the table. And you're like, well, it's never going to be useful to actually roll. Even if you roll it in a tray, you're like, which of these numbers is on top?
Yeah.
Commander Steel. No, that was asked already. I think. Let's bring my request back up. Joe Baby asks, what comes first, the character or artwork idea, and then the design dice, or around? Design the dice around that, or design the dice and then the character artwork. You kind of talked about that before and said that it's sometimes one, sometimes the other, or sometimes kind of a mix, right?
Yeah, I mean the character artwork usually. I mean. It's very. I think maybe once or twice the artwork could maybe go back and tweak something about the dice. But normally, by the time the artwork's on the way, the sample's on the way from the factory as well.
Yeah.
So if the colours are slightly out, we tend to recolor the artwork rather than trying to.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, like for example, the Mystic. I know is one for example that the character, like we said, we had the Mickey Mouse Fantasia idea. Our Mystic's going to be this sort of wizard, and the dice set made itself. You know, that was obvious to us.
Yeah.
But there's another time we've made a dice. I mean, it happened a couple of times with this set. I mean, like we done the Devil. There's a red and blue set called the Devil at the moment, which I think was the last set we actually named this time around. And we were going back and forth with different sort of names for that. We really liked this red set, but we need a monster to go with it, sort of thing. So that time it was definitely dice first.
Right.
The Beekeeper was dice first. I made that dice set, and I was like, that looks like honey. And then, Scouts come to say hello just into the stream.
Hey, Scout. Last couple of questions. Then Vortaria said, "Are the included dice coins going to only be in one dice size?"
Included dice coins.
Has there been mentioned?
there's a coin there. It's just one size of coin. Yes, it will be. Oh, I haven't got actually got Rob's coin on me. I think they'll be slightly larger than this one.
Have you looked up the roll one? Because it'll be
I do somewhere, but
the same size as
it'll
that.
be in one of these cupboards full of Dice Goblin stuff. So.
They'll be bigger than.
Yeah, but then I think they're about an inch and a half or something like that, and then so they're decent sized coins. You can sort of they're big enough that you can flip them without breaking your thumb. But
yeah. And are they what's on the coins? I don't think I've seen these coins that they're talking about. Is it just like a Dice Goblin head on one side and logo on the other?
It's got Professor Brains on one and Monster Menagerie on the other.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
It's
Have you seen our coins from Session 0? Have you seen our Session 0 coin?
They don't ring a bell. I'm not sure that I did.
Oh, I should have given you one when we saw it.
Yeah, I'm not
we
sure.
bought
That
we put official backer of the Dice Goblin's first Kickstarter on the coin,
Oh,
which
nice.
is a good idea. But now we have like a tub full of coins that we can't give out. As they say,
because they're official Kickstarters. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, like shit.
We would have sold them coins.
Yeah, they were very
They were
popular.
they were very cool, but yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Final question then from Commander Steele. What has been the coolest or most surprising experience in this making dice journey? Coolest and most surprising experience of making dice?
I think it was during. I think it's just the networking. I think we're doing like with you, Rob, and there's plenty of other our competitors that we're very friendly with. So that all started really with doing UK Games Expo, our first one, where we went and met a load of our competitors, met a load of our customers, and then just after that process, we started trying to gather influencers, affiliates, D&D people in the online space. It's like how we first someone. I don't remember who put it together, Rob. It was one of your friends. Like, I know who you speak.
Rakan.
Was it Rackham?
Yeah, Rakan. Yeah.
Rackham, the
so, yeah.
GM Workshop. Was it that guy?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
He was like, yeah, so you speak to Rob. But we've got so many interesting people, that we know now and speak to on a daily basis about D&D.
I mean, we kind of partnered with another a small group of streamers who have they've been going for as long as we have nearly now as well, and they've just finished their first campaign, so they've been on that for a while. But like, it's great to see just to meet people in the community and chat with people. Like, I love going to conventions. We're always knackered by the end of it. It's fun talking to customers in person who's like, oh,
the shows are the most fun. I mean, I said after our UK Games Expo this year, I said to Michael when we got back and we were debriefing on Discord, and I was like, I don't know about you, I just feel so motivated after that, because you work in the shadows quite a lot, when you're making, you do these Kickstarters and things like that. People are just waiting for you to say things on social media and stuff like that. But it's nice just to actually get out there and feet on the ground and be involved in the industry. It's a lot of fun.
Well, we did a giveaway on Reddit that was taken down, but we're going to be doing another one on Monday soon. But like, all positive comments about our dice days, like, yes, I feel so good.
Did the mods ever apologize for taking your post down?
Well, it's like.
We did break a rule. We didn't.
You didn't though, because you sent me the screenshot of what had been said. You said, "Can we do this thing with this Discord giveaway?" Blah blah blah, and they said yes, and then you did it, and they said you broke a rule.
Yeah.
Yes. So we sent them.
If they misread.
So yeah, but as per their rules, they said we can post again. But as per the rules, if you get a post taken down, you got to wait a week to post again. So.
But yeah,
even if they mistakenly took it down, you have to wait a week.
I was ready to go to war. Michael was like, "Stop sending me."
I was like, "Don't get us banned from subreddit."
It's bullshit, man. It's bullshit. You asked, they said yes. If they misread that and then took it down, that's on them, and they should put the post back up again.
The reason he did not read the giveaway bit, and he didn't explain the giveaway rules to us. But we did do a giveaway on there last year where we gave away our Kickstarter dice, and we gave them away when fulfillment came. But apparently the product has to be immediately available to ship after the winner is announced.
That was the issue.
And that was the issue. That was the main issue, is that our product's going to be immediate. So we're going to be giving away prototypes for session 2 on
Monday, probably. I think
Monday on
Monday
Reddit.
or Tuesday, yeah.
Yeah. So if you want the chance to win some prototypes for the session 2 dice, hey, maybe you'll get the set that you want. It's on.
Maybe just before Halloween as well. Maybe Halloween one shot. We might be able to get them out in time.
So make sure to be following on Reddit and such. All right. Well, I can hear somebody starting to unlock the pantry from the other side now. So somebody at the party is finally letting us out of this cupboard. which is good because we've eaten up every bit of food that's in this cupboard. We've properly trashed it, I'm sure. So before we get ready to get back to work, understanding this mystery of the murder mystery, one last time, tell people where to find you, where to support you, and all the rest of it.
Our handle is Dice Goblin UK on pretty much every social media platform. We post on Instagram the most, but dicegoblin.co.uk for our current ranges of dice, and then the Kickstarter, which make sure you use Rob's link, which I'm sure is in the chat somewhere.
Yep, it's below me in the notices, tinyurl.com/robdice, or it's pinned in the chat comments at the moment as well. So if you are seeing this while the Kickstarter is still live, just for my YouTube audience later, if you are seeing this while the Kickstarter is still live, then make sure to go via my link so that they know that I sent you, essentially.
Yeah.
And then find them on all the things, Dice Goblin UK or dicegoblin.co.uk for the
And
store.
also the Discord server earlier, if you want to play test Gobos, that's another one. So
Yeah, your mod post. I mean, yeah, we'll. I mean, I'll post it over to on my clipboard.
I know you got.
Oh, I think it got deleted before, didn't it? The mod post.
Yeah,
If
she
it's not
did
on-
repost it.
There you go. There you go. Very.
Thank you so much for having us, Rob.
No worries. All right. Thank you very much for joining us, guys. Thank you for all the work you do, and thanks for sponsoring my Private Sanctum games. I really love the dice that you make and the work that you put into it. Your passion for dice creation and fulfillment is apparent, and I hope that it continues into the future with great success. Thank you guys for joining. Thank you for the support and the bits and the subs and the donations and stuff that come in while streaming. It's how I earn a living, so I really appreciate that as well. And thank you finally to the mods as well for being here and letting the chat know how little I'm paying attention to them during sessions like this, so that they know to redeem their questions for later as well. Thank you to the mods.
Thank you to anyone who made back as well.
And also,
thanks to all the back.
Yeah, thank you to all the backers for the Kickstarter.
Money.
All right.
Spend
See
your
you guys
gold.
next time. Bye.
Hey there, I'm talking to you. You rock. Thank you for watching my stuff. Really appreciate it.